Good morning, boys and girls. Good morning, good morning. How are we all doing? Mere hours to go. Yes, look, here. 14 hours to go. 20 seconds. Oh my god, it's close. Say goodbye to your loved ones. Say goodbye to your friends. Say goodbye to your family. Say a fair hello to the pizza delivery guy, because he is going to be your best friend. Wow, we are almost done with BFA. Oh, I'm hyped. I can't wait. I'm so glad to actually finally get to play Shadowlands where it matters. Ah, relief. That's literally all it is. It literally just feels like relief. It is crazy. It is crazy. Why do I get the feeling that my microphone is peaking? I can't hear the stream myself, but I have a feeling this isn't doing what it should do. Hang on. Let me just check the filters are set up. The filters are set up. It should be fine. Huh. Fair enough. Well, good morning all. Good morning everybody. How are we all doing today? Are we? Did we have a good weekend? Good. I should equally remember good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. As you know, world is a big place and all that. Let's get our good mornings out the way. Lag Monkey, Bag Boy in 15, pew pew. Bag Boy in 10, literally Bag Boy in 10. Yes. It's not peaking, I'd have told you if it were. Nice. Good one. Good one. Excellente. Goodbye to real life. Yes, that is exactly it. Yes, exactly. Now, for all of you boys and girls that are regular around here, you will know what generally happens on a Monday. On a Monday, we generally check out Samadan's weekly economy wrap-up. But, for some reason, it's not there. So, we're going to have to occupy ourselves. We're going to occupy ourselves with Bag Boy in 10 minutes, if nothing else. But we can get a nice casual good mornings on the go. Good morning. There will be got an AM meeting at 10:20. Don't talk about changes yet. All right. Well, hopefully, I'm not going to find any changes. And on the basis that my Monday morning content has disappeared, I'm not sure if anybody else has the ability to link the article to me. Whether it went, whether I'm just being stupid, but like there is no Wowhead weekly economy on this list. You go to page 2. Oh, it's back. Right, now that makes me look like a complete flipping idiot, doesn't it? Absolute idiot. Well, it's Monday morning, coffee hasn't kicked in. I will put it down, just blame it on lag or something. Blame it on the lag. What I do need to do is make sure I have my in-game sound on though. Otherwise, and I suppose, let's just go over to where Bag Boy is to begin with. Did you check if they made any changes to the beta on the end? Yeah, I'm a bad man, I did check. There didn't appear to be anything profession-based, but we will spend a brief, and I mean a very brief 20 minutes, half an hour on beta later. Just to double-check things about the base legendary items. Because if they've stealthed in a fix, then I want to know about it before the game goes live. I would actually be intrigued to see if the beta is still up. Can you still log into the beta? I mean, we are now less than 14 hours from the launch of the game. In past expansions, they've taken the beta down a day or two before. But who knows? But who knows? Is the client already updated with the Shadowlands code? Yes, that's what pre-patch is. That's literally the reason we have pre-patch. Pre-patch is where Blizzard front load all of the new data for the new expansion so that it's ready and waiting for you. And then literally all they do on their side is they flick a switch and it activates the quest to allow you to go to Shadowlands. I'm sure if you had the know-how, you could probably get there already, but you didn't show your crafting operations last Friday, so that's always a talking point. Yes, the reason I didn't show my crafting operations last week is because we didn't actually do them. That is the God's honest truth, and I still haven't to this moment even done them. If we open up TSM, you can go to my operations. I've got a couple, but no more than what we had the other day. I've literally, like I said, I took the weekend off. I did my very best to close the game, don't open the game, don't play World of Warcraft, because it's going to be my life for the next however long. But yeah, so we've still got stuff to do today. Let's not mess around. We've still got stuff to do today. Does a level 1 legendary still cost 1250 soul ash to craft? To my knowledge, yes. And I feel like I have to offer that disclaimer every time I say something at the moment. With the amount that they've changed stuff, to my best level of knowledge, yes, it's 1250 soul ash to craft a single legendary. You can gain, what we worked it out to be, like 610 soul ash the first week from just running Torghast. There's likely to be some additional questing you can do for Torghast that is likely to give you some ash as well. But it very strongly appears like Blizzard have done everything in their power to prevent people from getting a legendary week 1. I just don't think Blizzard want people zerging the game. I just don't think they want people to zerg through the main campaign, get to 60, and then level up a whole bunch of alts and have to do it on 4 or 5 characters. I just don't think they want that. So that they've gone back in many times to try and kind of just make it so that it's a nice leisurely like path into the Shadowlands. They don't want you to feel like you're forced to do much at all, but just enjoy the leveling the first week, and that is in essence what we will be doing. Now, one thing I will say is that from a gold maker's point of view, the first week is crazy busy, and the reason being is because there's this kind of this mentality of like just it's a race, it's a race to the bottom. Or a race to the top, depending on how you see it. But ultimately, for gold makers, it is still a bit of a race because you're trying to get in there, you're trying to get your professions leveled. Ultimately, you want to get a few characters, if possible, to level 60 so that you can unlock the base legendary items across a couple of professions, possibly. You're going to want to get those herbs farmed. You're going to want to do some skinning. There's so much you want to do as a goblin at the first week of an expansion. Leveling is almost a fourth, like leveling almost gets put to the background. But plan of action for the week is quite simple. We are going to level our hunter. First and foremost, we are going to level our hunter virtually before we do anything else. We have 2 accounts though. So account number 2 will be running in the background. Account number 2 will be sat at the auction house. Account number 2 will be scanning for materials. Guides are up on WoW Professions now, by the way. I did see that there was some updates on the WoW Professions website. I've not looked into it, but I was very aware that those guys were going to have the profession leveling stuff up day one, because that website, believe it or not, makes a hell of a lot of money. So it's in their vested interest to get that up to date as possible. Hey mate, you having problems with TSM at the moment? I've not been having problems, but I've not been playing the game for 2 days, so if there's anything that's happened since Friday with TSM, I don't know about it. When I said I'd take the weekend off, I took the weekend off. I played a little bit last night because, it's Sunday night and I was bored. But apart from that, Saturday, didn't even turn my computer on Saturday. So it's not logging in, probably just for you. I think my TSM is working fine. I will check it in a while. I will check it before the game goes live for sure. Lego acquiring slowed down overall, but not for crafting. Also Ash. Oh yeah, this is the thing. Like from a crafting point of view, we've got work to do. If you want to be ahead of the game, a Goblin always wants to be ahead of the game. People like Mythic Raiders, for example, they talk about being ahead of the game in terms of getting to 60 fast, getting their gearing done nice and fast. From a goblin point of view, it's the fact that we want to get those professions leveled up. We want to get them to max as quick as possible. That means we can start looking into base legendary items. Now, on people keep telling me, well, people can't craft their legendary, they're not going to buy their base items. Lies. There is just way too many people in this game for them to not buy stuff. They will have seen this legendary crafting system being shouted about left, right and centre, and then soon as those base legendary items hit the auction house, you know people are going to buy them. So there is a bit of a race in that regards, but what will I be levelling up first? Easy answer. My hunter will be leveled up first. My hunter is a jewel crafter, my hunter is a leatherworker. So, on that basis, I will have access to 2 professions with base legendary items as soon as I hit 60. Yet I won't have any means of supplying those characters with materials. So I'm going to hope there's a lot of people on my server that are doing some farming. So. Oh, okay, some other people appear to be having issues with TSM logging in. It wouldn't surprise me, their servers are probably getting absolutely smashed today. So yeah, Bear, good to see you, my man. Gave the PC a dust out. My black tempered glass window side panel shattered. Ouch! I would usually with things like that, it's often cheaper just to buy a brand new case than it is to buy a spare part. Spare parts are usually 3 times the price that they probably should be. But that's probably not what you wanted to hear, so. Bag Boss is here, boys and girls. Bag Boss is here. This is the last character I want to get the bag on. I've got it on 3 of my 4 characters that I want to take into Shadowlands. I'm on a new player realm. Will that help with the login, or will the login servers die? If the login servers die, it doesn't matter what realm you're in. But let's hope. I mean, if we look at it from a analytical point of view, Blizzard have already tested server demand quite heavily. They gave us the pre-patch. Things broke, should we say, at the pre-patch. Blizzard hopefully would have looked at that and done something about it. They gave us this Ice Crown event. This Ice Crown event was very, very deliberately designed to test server load. They wanted as many people to be attacking and doing things in one location as possible, so they can see just how many people can they cram into a single shard before they break. But Blizzard have had 2 weeks worth of data on that because of these rares, and so hopefully when they flick the switch in 13 hours and 46 minutes, it should be smooth. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. First and foremost though, let's kill this bag boss. Let's get the bag on the last character. I really hope to get the bag on the last character. Then we'll check the WoW Weekly Economy Report. We've got a few people trickling into the stream today, so we can check that out. See what was said. I have a sneaky feeling I was mentioned in it. In fact, that's a lie. I know for a fact I was mentioned in it, but you may have noticed that I've changed to Frost as well on my mage. I've changed to Frost just because leveling as Fire is usually a bit of a pain in the ass. Now, I don't particularly know how to play Frost very well, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. Wow, he literally got deleted. Literally got deleted. Aha! Wow. Not the upgrade that I was looking for. Not gonna lie, not the upgrade I was looking for. But I will take a piece of gear over a bag. How odd is that? That you're less impressed by a piece of gear upgrade than you are a bag upgrade. That's an odd state of affairs right there. Okay, I'm there. What have I missed? I need all the changes. Changes, hopefully, are none. We will look later, though. I've not got... You know me. I don't do that much in terms of preparation. Let's just go park ourselves over here for now. Ended up getting my two-handed rep weapon. I've not killed that boss at all this week. I've just not bothered. As soon as I realised that zombies were invading it, I was like, nah, I'm out. See you later. Right, let's get the WoW weekly economy report on the go. This I'm intrigued to see what was in it in great detail. 3 out of 6 bags is good enough for me. Yes, yeah. I got 3. I'm happy with 3. But, so boys and girls, for those who do not know, every Monday we go through Samadan's weekly economy wrap-up on Wowhead. This is now episode 152. Samadan also realised that this is his 52nd write-up, so he's now been doing this for a year. Morning folks, bag no longer obtainable. The bag is unlikely to be obtainable after the you might be able to kill it 2, maybe 3 more times. Most urgent question, Blizzard first said they will skip the first reset on Wednesday 25th. However, now they've said they won't open Mythic Zero, Torghast and so on until the first reset. But this is super long and many websites mention Torghast and M0 will be open on the 25th. No, that was basically, there's on the beta there's a new debuff. There's a debuff that basically restricts you from having access to the Maw or Torghast or any of those things. That debuff will disappear on the regular weekly reset. It basically means that even if you zerg to 60, because over in the EU we arguably get a day's head start in terms of the resets. And so people in the EU were heavily considering, right, zerg to 60 as fast as humanly possible, get to 60 within 8 to 12 hours, run through Torghast, get your Stygia for the week, get your Venari rep on the go, and then, like 12 hours after the game goes live, they reset the servers, because it's the usual standard weekly reset in the EU, and then everybody could start doing it again and gain a big advantage from that. That's what Blizzard have said is not happening. But Torghast will be open from Wednesday. M0 will be open from Wednesday. Not a week on Wednesday, Wednesday. For us over in the EU. Arguably most people won't have even hit 60 by the time this debuff disappears, so it's fine. Unless you're willing to spend 500k, this is your only chance to get the 34 slot bag. Yes, technically you can get another 34 slot bag. It was from a vendor in Legion, in the old Dalaran I think it was. But it costs you 500k for a bag, so. I know why I'm here, thank you so much. Well, you're very welcome. Your support is appreciated as well. But right. Okay, so, if, like I said, Samadan does this post every week. Who is Samadan? Samadan is another fellow gold maker and content creator like myself. He's been doing it for, in recent years, a lot more consistently than I have, for sure. He primarily streams over on Twitch. He also has his YouTube channel, so please make sure you check him out. It's well worth it. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of the article. Are you ready for Shadowlands? Tomorrow we'll be launching ourselves through the Maw to the unknown and into the Shadowlands. As a gold maker, what does this mean? Are you ready? What are your plans going into this expansion? Is this your first time making gold, or are you a seasoned veteran? There are so many ways to make gold and to play the game. There is no correct answer other than to what works for you and how you enjoy the game. This week's blog, we talk through some of the topics you might want to use to make gold. Nice. Nice. 500k repeatable bag. The 500k bag, it's still a unique bag, so you can only buy one of them. So, there was a flipping guide. it was the art of buying items on the auction house and then quite simply selling them for a higher price. One thing I love to do very much at the beginning of every single patch, not just expansion but main patch, or at least whenever we get a new raid, is there's a huge opportunity to flip items. Any bind on equip item that drops from the raid is usually stupidly high in value, since it's more often than not one of the highest item level pieces of gear that you can get in the game at that time. So you usually will find that guilds will go through, or even pugs will go through the raid, and they'll get some of these BOEs and then they'll just throw them on the auction house for a quick buck. Goblins alike tend to like buying these up, and even if they need to, buying a few of them up just to sort of increase the scarcity of them, and then sell them back to the people that really actually want them at a nice cheeky profit. But let's see what was gone into in this article. So they currently flip anything, pretty much anything across every EU server, and just wanted to share some pointers across every EU server. That's adventurous. I will definitely claim that to be adventurous. But let's start flipping. First thing, be careful about your spending at the start. Pets cost very little to post, but that won't be the same for everything you're buying. And more than once I overspent. I had to go back to just selling pets while sat on 500k worth of stuff to sell, which sucks. This is interesting. This is actually just a snippet of what was a very large write-up on the WoW economy subreddit. It was a 20-minute read. It was a really big article, but it was really good. It was primarily about pets, primarily. This is why you'll see that there's references to pets. Pets is one thing that many people like to flip across different servers, because it's very easy to transfer that pet from one server to another, yet each server still has its own kind of mini economy. The BOE trinket is which BOE trinket we talking about? The BOE trinket is crazy, by the way. Tell me which trinket. I love to know about crazy trinkets. Just answering a very quick question, is there still those relearn tokens for professions? So if you drop one, can you relearn in Shadowlands? Through my testing on the beta, there is not. No. So if you drop a profession, you drop a profession. You will need to learn it all back again. The argument stands very heavily to never to drop professions, just level up another character. It literally doesn't take you that long to level up another character, of which it would be much better to do that, so then eventually you end up with all of the professions across a bunch of characters. Oh, the 20% signature ability one. It's not that crazy because it's not the class ability. Yeah, there is one new bind on equip trinket that does that looks kind of cool, but it's a rare wormed drop BOE. It's likely to be expensive though. But anyway, back to the flipping side of things. They highlight something that's called TSM Great Deals. This is a web page that you can go to. If we open the link for this, you can see that TSM will just give you some great deals. You select your realm. Doesn't matter what realm you pick. There's literally no good deals on that one. Let's try and pick something that's actually probably got some great deals on it. Here we go. And basically then it will just list stuff that has a market price and a global market price of a pretty high value compared to what it's actually listed for at the moment. Interestingly, you do quite often find trash in here. You've got to be careful. Not all of these are actually great deals. 9 times out of 10, I actually consider them to not be great deals. It's just some random item that has occasionally been posted at a really high price that is just trash and is now being posted for vendor value. Like a plain letter, for example. There's literally no reason why you would buy a plain letter. So you got to be careful using the great deal. You don't just go in and buy all of these and expect to flip them for millions. Put that plain, yeah, exactly. So be careful when you use this, as sometimes it is a bit of a, it's a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing, to a degree. Not always do they actually stand out as great deals, but occasionally you will spot something on here. The difficulty you find is that this is updated 2 hours ago. So honestly, the best deals have probably already been found by somebody and have probably already been snagged up. Somebody's going to have come along and run a shopping scan, found that cool thing, and they're going to probably have already bought it. So this is nice to know about, but it's usually, because it only updates every hour from the WoW's API, you tend to find a lot of this is either just trash in the first place, or sometimes just completely out of date and not actually there anymore. But TSM buying scans, this is then the better way to do it, is if you have those items in groups set up, you can just do a shopping scan, which scans the live data on your auction house, and you're much more likely to find something that's kind of cool. This is a good way to snag those items. You build up your TSM profile over time. This is why if I share any TSM stuff, it will usually be just basic groups. It won't be everything, simply because everybody's TSM profile, they build it up slightly differently. The Undermine Journal is the way to go for deals. I know exactly when it updates to the minute. That's true. It may update as the clock strikes 0 every hour on the hour, but there's still 59 other minutes where somebody could be posting something. So there is no substitute to actually searching in-game. That's the only way you're going to get perfectly live data whenever you search. Unless, of course, you hit the stupid auction house throttle. But and yeah, and so it goes on to say that the Undermine Journal is also another very good website to use for trying to find prices on things. So most of you guys will be fully aware of the Undermine Journal. If not, it's a very simplistic. It looks very basic. It looks as if it's come straight out of some 1990s university-based kind of intranet sort of website. It looks very basic, but there is often some good stuff you can snag, and you can even subcategorize it. So if you're looking for, like I'm looking for any good plate transmog items, you just pick a server, and it will show you what it is, and then literally how much it's listed for. No night mode. I don't even know if there is a night mode option on the Undermine Journal. There probably is, but you probably have to log into it first. But this is quite handy for if you want to search transmog. You go, this chest piece looks kind of cool. I'll take that, and it shows you that it's listed, and then you hover over it, and it shows you what that item is. It's kind of quite cool. Not just transmog though, it goes into all sorts of things. So you can pick just the deals, you can view just deals. There is no login required. Okay, hang on people, hang on. Dark theme, there we go. Relax. We got it. I don't mean to blind all of you. Using Undermine Journal mainly for minor stats checking, for things like speed. That's true. But you can see here it dropped rare and epic weapons and stuff. You can scan through this. There's so much to this website. I can't really explain all of it in like literally 2 minutes, but it's worthwhile going onto here, just kind of having a little look about, see what's what. It's a good website to have at the back of your mind if you need to quickly check something. Someone reset the Goblin Glider kit price yesterday. For a brief moment they were selling for 88 gold each. That's what heaven feels like. I can imagine so. Is the Queen's Conservatory the only Covenant feature that gives profession mats? Yeah, I think so. But like, the thing to note is it really doesn't give you a lot. It literally probably over the space of an entire week is probably going to give you no more materials than you could go out and gather in maybe 20 minutes. It really doesn't give you a lot, mainly because since its first introduction to where it currently sits now, it's very, very heavily time gated. You're realistically only going to get a decent sized loot bag from the Queen's Conservatory once a week. Not only that, it's hard to maintain it on an alt passively because you have to actively go out to get some of the spirits and that sort of thing. So it'll drip feed you materials, but it's not anything I would heavily concern yourselves about. Could you sell many gliders at that price? I imagine you can sell gliders at virtually any price you list them for today. Oh my god, I'm so behind. I only just started looking at professions. Or you got 13 and a half hours. You've got loads of time. There's a video for every single profession on my channel. So no, Botty. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, the thing to note about professions right now is just be casual about it. That if anybody that has even thought about professions, quite literally is 10 steps ahead of anybody else. So really don't worry yourself. It may feel like you're massively behind, but you're not at all. You're literally, by the fact that you're being proactive about looking into it, means you're 10 steps ahead of most people. I only have 3,000 gliders in stock. They take up so much space, but will they sell? Price will drop to a well, if you're going to sell them, you're going to sell them today. Let me put it that way. Most people will use things like gliders and gun shoes and this sort of thing. They'll use them primarily on their main to get that first leveling experience faster and to get ahead of the pack. You're unlikely to see constant sales of them though for too much longer. Crimson pigment for 32 gold a piece. Nice. Nice. You sold one of the keepsakes for 44k. I genuinely didn't think that they would sell. But I guess there are some collectors that may not have necessarily actually been able to get one. I think I've only had one this entire 2 weeks. They are actually pretty rare. How long will leveling take? Realistically, I want to say 8 to 12 hours for the average player. It's really difficult to say though, simply on the basis that there will be some unforeseen bottlenecks. There will be some bugs that will just stop people in their path. It's almost guaranteed. So if you plan to level pretty aggressively in the first day, I would imagine it will take you 8 to 12 hours. I can't really be more precise about that. Yes, some people have smashed it out in like 8, well, what was it? I think the record for 50 to 60 is now like 5.5 hours or something ridiculous. But that's not normal by any stretch of the imagination. Any word on arboreal shards? I hope they stay on the vendor. I hope they stay on the vendor and I hope they keep them 125 gold. But that's all I can do. Hope. Did I see that Crimson Inks are being used to trade at the Ink Trader? I did, yeah. Hickons did a video on it. Obviously, Hickons wasn't the first person to talk about it, but he put a video out on it, and he's at least the character that most people know about. I'm kind of concerned that it was a bit of a bug. Now, I know Hickons dived deep into it, bought a whole bunch of BFA herbs, milled a whole bunch of herbs, and bought a whole bunch of different pigments and inks with it. The likelihood is, though, that when the game goes live today or we have a reset, that might change. Ink Trader Vendor is now Umbreon pigment. Has it changed again? Has it changed back? BJ Bay. Nice name. Thanks for the sub. Welcome, welcome. Do you recommend farming herbs or just buying them off the auction house for Dark Moon decks? I have a lot of capital. If you've got a lot of capital, just buy them. Why waste time farming if you've got a lot of gold? Just spend the gold. Spend the gold and sell the trinkets for more than it costs you to make. GG. My goal is to go Ardenweld with Threads of Fate on day 3 with my Goblin and buy a ton of the shards and sell them for 10 gold profit apiece. It's weirdly, you may find them selling on the auction house quite well. Simply because, like I said, the fact that we're proactive with professions means that we are 10 levels ahead of anybody else. Literally 10 levels ahead of everybody else. HexoX, thanks for the sub. Welcome, welcome. Roscoe, good morning to you. Good morning, morning. Welcome, welcome. Do you have some chances for the blank cards when doing Dark Moon cards? Yeah, when you craft a regular Dark Moon card, there's roughly a 30% chance. I say roughly because I've not tested enough. I crafted maybe 100 or so Dark Moon cards on the beta. There's roughly a 30% chance to get a blank card, which then means that you can craft a second card at a cheaper rate, but it's specific to that one deck, which is kind of quite nice. Is it a bad idea to buy WoW tokens to flip them? Yes, definitely. Terrible idea. You very, very rarely. There's literally no way that the price of the token is going to fluctuate so heavily that will ever be profitable. Don't do it. Can you explain the shard thing in Arden? I'm not necessarily why they were saying they were going to go to Ardenweld to do it, but a Goblin has the faction discount when buying materials off a vendor, so they can buy things at like exalted rates, which means that they'll be able to buy. A Goblin will be able to buy the arboreal shards from the profession vendor at a considerably cheaper price than what most other players will be able to at the time, meaning that they can then buy them the cheap and potentially then sell them on the auction house for people that want to buy them. Do tools of the trade work in Shadowlands? Not to my knowledge, no. If you actually look at the tooltips in most of the tools of the trade, the tooltips actually say that it's only going to work in like Kultir and Zandalar zones. So they're not necessarily going to work in Shadowlands at all. Wow, this has turned into like a massive Q&A. I entirely didn't mean it to do so. Let me catch myself when it comes to the article again. Oh, okay. This is an interesting section to it. To buy or not to buy. Sometimes when you're buying and selling buying items to flip them, you've got to try and decide, well, something is cheap on the auction house. Is it actually worth me buying it? And so what they've done is they've theoretically put together some theoretical scenarios to try and explain to you maybe what you should do when you see something on the auction house. So, an item, doesn't matter what the item is, this is all hypothetical. If an item has a regional market value of 30k, but it's only got what's a 0.05 sell rate, which means it sells 5% of the time that you list it on the auction house. So one scenario is you see that item listed on your realm for 2,000 gold. There's only one of them. This is what they call the easy buy. It's a bit of a no-brainer. Somebody's listed it well under the market price. Often just listing it with maybe without the use of any add-ons. They've got no idea what the item's actually worth. They just list it on the auction house. This is a quick buy and instant relist. Likelihood being that you'd list it at 50 to 60,000 gold because you're going to be posting the only one, even though it's only valued at 30. If you're the only person that's got it for sale, you might as well try and charge a little bit more for it. That's dead simple. That sort of paints the best case scenario. There's another option, when you see one being listed at 2,000 gold, but the rest of them, there's another whole bunch, there's 5 more of them posted at what the market average is. There's only one that's being listed super cheap. What should you do then? Well, somebody who's listed it well under value and clearly just wants a quick sale, as they saw everybody else listing at 30. An easy quick buy and then just relist it at 30k. You're probably going to get undercut, but eventually that item is likely to still sell and to make you a profit over the 2k that you paid for it in the first place. Once again, pretty easy, pretty sensible thing to do. Scenario 3. We need more bag space, Scotty. When you see 20 of those items listed at 2,000 gold, even though you know as a regional average it should be valued at 30k. What they have said is that these numbers are a bit of an extreme example, but it does happen quite regularly. You'll see this with like profession materials, for example. If something like I don't know, Primal Fire, for example, I don't know what the going rate is for Primal Fire nowadays, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's like 500 gold. You'll sometimes see somebody come along and they'll post 20 of them for 200 gold each. That's a similar scenario to this, where you should just buy them all. Quite simply, just buy them all. You are likely going to need to store a bunch of them for a while because they're not going to sell, but you'd only need to sell like a handful of them to make your investment back, and then any additional ones you sell in the future is just pure profit. The next one is where you see things like this happen, where you know that the value is itemed at 30k, but you see lots of people just undercutting, but there's not a huge quantity of them every time. Often you'll find resetting this market to be super expensive. The prices are so low and supply is likely high that it's unlikely that the supply will increase anytime soon. This is sensible. If you try and buy out, say, these ones, if you only buy out these ones, there is still 3, 6, 9 still available to sell. And if there was this many on the auction house in the first place, it's likely that it's an item that's quite easy to get hold of, hence why there's been a big undercut. So you just got to kind of like be a little bit more careful. And this is the point, that this is something that you learn when you practice flipping. You learn very quickly what to do in what scenario. And the only way you learn is by trying it a few times and failing a few times. You learn more from the investments that fail than you do from the investments that are a success. Isn't market values faked sometimes? Well, it is. This is one thing you've got to be careful of. If you're only taking information from an add-on, it's very easy for somebody else to fool that add-on into thinking that the value is something different. So this is why add-ons should be an assistant to you rather than you being an assistant to the add-on, if that makes sense. I'm a big advocate of using TSM. I think TSM is a fantastic add-on for virtually anybody to use, not just goal makers. But what you've always got to remember is that you need to only use an add-on to give you little snippets of information. You still need to be making the final decision, and you need to be making that final decision based on some expertise. Expertise and knowledge comes over time. You're not going to be great at it to begin with, but the more that you do it, the better you'll get at it, quite simply. 5 head. Yeah. There we go. If there's a tip about flipping, and if there's a tip about taking information from add-ons and using add-ons, it's that you should be in control of the add-on shouldn't be in control of you. Never just blindly do what an add-on tells you to do, especially if you think that it's not right or something's too good to be true. It usually is. Hello, running late. Everybody ready for Shadowlands? Yes is the answer. I definitely do hope to be ready for the Shadowlands now. Hey, we got more subs. Edo, thank you for the sub. Welcome, welcome. Be the add-on. Be one with the add-on. Indeed. Yes. I just keep buying pets for cheap, but I almost keep them. I guess that's a personal problem. Yeah, probably. Don't forget that you can only keep 3 of each pet. Crassox, how we doing? Welcome, welcome. But yeah, so that was... I would recommend actually going over to the WoW Economy subreddit and taking a look at that full article. On the WoW here, this was just literally a snippet from it. This was a very, very long, very in-depth article. It was well worth a read. I would highly recommend going over and actually reading this one in full, if you have the time and if you have the desire to. But next section, call yourself a goblin. On the topic of what you call yourself was brought up this week. You don't need to make 100 million a month to be a goblin, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. This was kind of one of those feel-good posts, which obviously is going to get a lot of attention. Somebody proclaiming to have seen a lot of elitism in the WoW Economy subreddit, and they didn't want new goblins to feel deterred. I do somewhat have to back this up. It's very, very easy, or should I say, it's very difficult for new people to the subreddit to kind of fit in. Mainly because a lot of people who've used that subreddit for a while kind of know a lot of the people that post replies and comments, and yeah, the subreddit is a weird one, but when you get into it, you'll learn to love it. If you don't take everything too personally that's said in there, it's a good place to find some good hints and tips for gold makers, certainly. But yeah, the main emphasis was that you can consider yourself a goblin if all you're doing is just thinking about how to make gold. You're in essence a goblin. You don't need to be making, you don't need to have 10 professions maxed out. You don't need to have 15 characters at max level. You don't need to be making 500,000 gold a day. You literally just, if you're making more gold than you did the day before, or you're making enough gold to satisfy whatever it is you want to do in the game, then you're a goblin. The fact that you're even thinking about the process of making gold, we use this terminology quite loosely just to emphasize somebody that thinks about making gold, because most people in the game actually don't. Most people play the game, they think about, well, how do I get more gear? How do I get this item of loot? How do I get that mount? And only when it comes to, oh, well, I need to buy these flasks off the auction house. Oh no, I don't have any gold. That's about as much as people think about gold most of the time. We live in a corner of the game, in a sub niche of the game, that is completely foreign to a lot of people, but we enjoy it, so why not? Just remember, you are on Reddit. Exactly, you have to. Reddit is a weird place at the best of times. The WoW Economy subreddit is no different. There are a couple of people that I see on a very regular basis that simply just troll every single thread in the WoW Economy subreddit. I'm not a mod out there, so there's nothing. I'm not a mod there, so there's literally nothing I can do about it other than just downvote people if they're just blatantly trolling. But when you use the subreddit, if people are discussing something and somebody has an opinion that's different to yours, that's not justification to downvote. If somebody is literally offering nothing to the conversation and is just trolling, then yeah, sure, use the downvote. But I see the downvote using way too often to silence people's difference of opinions, and it's weird. But yeah, we got off topic. Ended up ranting about the subreddit then when we're realistically talking about being a goblin. But wow, we got all the subs today. Bobby Bax, thanks for the sub. Kelvin as well. I don't believe I said thank you to you. Welcome, welcome. You have to play a goblin to be one. Lies. Lies. It does help, but lies. Goblin has never been a title you achieve at some threshold. It is literally a mindset. Making gold and making it more efficiently. Time is money, friend. This puts it very well. If you spend any time in the WoW economy subreddit, you'll know this guy. He hits stuff. He's very active on the subreddit, and for good reason. He's a very well-established goal maker. He's been doing it for a long time. So when he fires off something like this, you know that it's at least somewhat sensible. Reddit downvoting is kind of not gonna lie. With downvotes, your comment disappears. If I would make 20 Reddit accounts, I could make any opinion non-existent. Yeah, true. You'd also get shadow banned like instantly though, but yeah, sure. What's the most gold I've ever had? What is the most gold I've ever had? I don't know. I think I got up to like 8-9 million. I was almost gold capped at the beginning of BFA, but then I just spent it all. I think it was like maybe 8.5 million I ended up at one point. Mainly off the back of just a crazy expansion launch for BFA. I ended up making a whole bunch of gold, but I then eventually just ended up whittling it all away, buying mounts and stuff. Just stuff. What I tend to do is make enough gold so that I then don't have to think about if I spend it on anything. And unfortunately, I didn't actually play a huge amount in BFA. I took large chunks of time off during BFA, way more so than I have on any past expansion. Didn't even know there was a gold cap. Well, there's a limit to how much gold you can hold on one character, which is 10 million gold, or 1 copper under 10 million gold. You can also store 10 million gold in a guild bank, so arguably you can actually hold 20 million gold on a single character. I'm hoping for gold cap this expansion. It will be entirely possible. It will be entirely possible. I definitely feel this is more of a long-term thought process. I definitely feel that there's a concern currently that I have that the lifespan of the professions is going to be very, very short. Professions are going to see a huge amount of gold that can be made with the professions, but 6 to 8 weeks down the line, it may start to get very difficult to make consistent gold with the professions, which means I worry that it's going to push more and more people into the raw gold farming and that sort of stuff. Soon as professions lose their pizzazz, their flavour, there's going to be a huge decline in the profitability of professions, and it will come at a point where as soon as people start clearing the first raid, professions are going to die off very quickly. But we'll probably end up talking about that in 6 to 8 weeks' time. Do you think that the Billis and Ixia interview on what to do when Shadowlands releases is solid advice? If I'd read that interview, I may be able to comment on it, but I haven't. So, stuff equals 8 Shadowlands expansions. Yeah, that was the definition of stuff for me. Yeah. I'm looking to get in on that early Lego grind and run flasks and food during raid season. Sounds like a good plan. Sounds like a very good plan. So the real goal cap is 1 billion account. No, 10 million. 1 copper under 10 million. 9,999,000. Enchanting and alchemy will always be profitable in one way or another, though. It was a very broad statement, but a broad statement I kind of disagree with. Enchanting and alchemy are both very seasonal professions, in my opinion. And the reason I call them seasonal is because they have a huge influx of potential around raid time. Outside of raid time, they drop off very, very quickly. Alchemy especially. Alchemy, if anybody is maining an alchemist, should I say, you're probably going to see a huge influx of additional alchemists on your server. Actually, when it comes to making profit on potions and flasks this expansion, it's going to be really difficult because the bar is the same for everybody. There's no ranks to your flasks, there's no ranks to your potions, there's no like Silas procs, there's no procs at all. If you craft 10 potions, you get 10 potions, which is going to mean that profits on them is going to be tiny. It's really going to have to be, there's going to have to be a focus on acquiring the materials very, very cheaply. BenRage321, thanks for the sub, welcome. Best advice to a newbie who's trying to learn all of this in just 2 nights. You've got 80k gold that I can use to support. With only 80k gold in your bags, I mean, you could literally double the amount of gold that you have in just a couple of hours of herbing and mining. Until you've got, my recommendation is always go ham on gathering until you hit 1 million. It's 1 million may seem like, wow, that's so far away, but the amount of gold you can make from gathering at the beginning of an expansion is ridiculous, like literally ridiculous. 30 to 40,000 gold an hour is not a crazy number for just running around doing some herbing and mining. Which very quickly you'll see your gold go up and up and up and up and up and up and up. Once you've got, most people find that once they've got 1 million gold, they can then dive deep into any profession they want, be competitive within that profession, and that 1 million gold turns into 2 million gold very, very quickly. You could do it at a lesser value. You could wait till you've got 250k. You could wait till you've got 500k. Ultimately, nobody ever completely turns off gathering. But once you've got a good amount of liquid gold, you don't need to spend your own personal time going out and gathering. You just buy the materials and somebody else has spent the time doing that. That's my theory on it, at least, anyway. Just found you a few days ago. It's a goblin. I'm very happy. I really enjoy watching your stuff. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Just watch. I think this expansion will be overrun with farming bots, and they'd be even more visible due to the decrease in multi-boxes. Hopefully, Blizzard get their act together, and bots can just go away. Hopefully. I was wondering when Shadowlands hits live, can I stay logged in and start, or will it be disconnected and forced to log in, maybe face a queue? If it's anything like BFA launch, you won't have to log out. A quest will just literally pop up and you can go. Blizzard deliberately have designed a system so that you don't have to log out and log back in again. Because everybody being logged out and everybody trying to log back in again just crushes the server. And so they actively don't want that to be a thing. They want people to be able to just like be logged in and just go. A rolling launch. Skinning and herbalism, or herbalism and mining. Herb and mining every time. Herb and mining. In before hyperspawn BOEs sell for 300k or more. Hey, if the only time you'll see me out there farming is when there's 300k to be made from BOEs. Do you think people will look for Dark Moon cards in the first 2 to 3 days? Yeah, sure they will. Like, people forget just how important item level is to most players of the game. Once you pass a threshold, item level doesn't mean anything. Once you get into an organised raid guild, item level doesn't mean a thing. But until you get into that organised raiding guild, and that means everybody that is not in an organised raiding guild, unfortunately, item level means everything. Dark Moon trinkets, 200 item level trinket that you can just buy off the auction house. Yes, people are going to buy them. Yes, absolutely. Did you hear about Asmon finding tons of Moonkin bot farmers yesterday on stream? It doesn't take Asmongold to find them. They've been there for months. They've been there for a long, long time. But obviously, if Asmongold goes and finds them on stream, all of a sudden 60,000 people see them. So it becomes a little bit more well known for sure. Would inscription with herbalism right off the launch be a solid plan? Looking to make cards ASAP. I'm gonna let you guys into a little secret. YouTube generally doesn't suggest that YouTube doesn't suggest to people that they show their analytics to people. But I'm going to show you my analytics for my channel over the last few days, and you guys will see what happens when everybody tries to think the same way. Hang on. Let me load it up in here. 1 minute. 1 minute. Let me see if I can find something that is actually sensible for you to see. Okay, this will make sense to you guys. You could all hit the like button to boost my analytics. You could. This is my analytics over the last few days. The top video on my channel over the last few days, no surprise, is the one that I did a few days ago. Just tier list of all the professions. In that tier list, I said that inscription is an S tier profession. Inscription is the best profession. So it is no surprise that the third most viewed video on my channel is my inscription deep dive. Everybody is planning to do inscription. I'm telling you this now for a fact. Everybody wants to go inscription. Dark Moon cards are going to be crazy competitive, like ridiculously competitive. I highly, I'm not suggesting people don't do inscription, but I'm just trying to make people aware that if you do want to get into the Dark Moon card game, expect a lot of competition. That is literally all I'm going to say. Does it change the fact that it is S tier? No. That video was all about the potential gold that is going to be available to a profession. The ones that the scribes that craft the Dark Moon cards and are aggressive in selling them will make filthy amounts of gold. The problem is, for every one person that is very good at crafting and selling with inscription, there are going to be 10 people who are just thinking that, oh, this is easy gold, I'm going to craft a few cards and become a millionaire, and that those 10 people are just competition for the main person. One copper undercuts every second. There's going to be crazy competition on Dark Moon cards. It's going to be the most competitive market in Shadowlands. I guarantee it. Absolutely guarantee it. Now, if you're not good about handling competition in markets, you may spend a lot of gold on herbs, you may mill those herbs, you may craft cards, you may list them on the auction house, and be incredibly disappointed when you struggle to sell them. I'm just trying to, kind of balance people's expectations on this, because there is no barrier to entry for Darkmoon cards. There were multiple barriers to entry for Darkmoon cards in BFA. First one being there was 3 ranks of card. If you wanted to get rank 3 of the Darkmoon cards so that it used less Expulsum and less Viridescent ink, you had to do a massive rep grind. I think you had to get to Revered. I can't remember exactly with who, but you had to get Revered. So that meant that those people that did the rep grind early days were able to craft cards cheaper. They were able to craft cards more efficiently. They were able to sell them for cheaper and still make a profit. There was also Expulsum. Expulsum, at the very beginning of the expansion, was this weird, mystical, unknown. People didn't know how to put a value against Expulsum. They didn't know what was the best way to get it. They didn't know how much it cost to get. They didn't know how to then price the products that used it because of it. There was lots of these unknowns. There is none of that in Shadowlands. Everybody is going to know that a single Darkmoon card is 1 Tranquil ink and 14 rare, non-rare inks. Like, those inks are going to have prices to them. It's going to be very, very obvious to everybody very quickly exactly how much it costs to craft a card. How much do the card trinkets cost, do you think? It's impossible to say because it all depends on the price of herbs. All depends on the price of herbs. The flipping of the cards could be huge. Certainly. So one thing that is there's how many of you here? How many people are here right now? There's a whole bunch of you here right now. What we got? Jesus, 140. This is what 140 people. How are we doing? Inscription's going to be mad level competitive. We've discussed that. I hope we sort of understand why. Smart goblins out there, goblins that have a lot of gold and want to make sure that they can sell Darkmoon trinkets at a very high price, will do something that most other people won't. What they will do is they will corner the market on a single card from each deck. Doesn't matter what card it is. It could be the ace, it could be the 5, it could be the 8. It doesn't matter what it is. But what you do is you corner the market on one card of every deck. It's very difficult to do and it's very expensive to do. But if you do it, it pays off big time. This is what I did in BFA. So I'm quite sure out of the 140 people that are here right now, at least 100 of you plan to go inscription in some way, shape or form. Buy every ace. That's the TLDR. Every time you see a single card hit the auction house, you buy it. What that basically means is it stops people from going to the auction house, buying 8 individual cards and then making a deck. It also means that when people only craft, if somebody only crafts like 20, 30 cards, and then they run out of herbs, they go to the auction house for that one card that they need to complete their deck, there's a very good chance that they then can't complete it because you've stolen one of the cards. You have to make one of the cards rare. Because whenever you craft a Darkmoon card, there is a 1 in 32 chance that you'll get any of the cards. If every time, like ace is an easy example, but if you just buy out every ace that lands on your server, yes, you'll end up with a lot of aces. You'll have all of the aces up your sleeve. You'll end up with a lot of aces, and you may not necessarily be able to complete decks as easily, but you are preventing others from making decks. That's the important thing. But like I said, doing that, it's crazy expensive because people will notice that you're doing it, and they'll take advantage of it. But that is like super high level approach to a very small market of the game. You're literally making it so that you're almost creating a monopoly on that one card. If you are the only person on your server that has that one card, somebody might get lucky. They might craft a Dark Moon card and boom, it might be that card. For that person that gets lucky, they can sell it to you and you'll pay a premium for that card to keep a hold of your monopoly. But what it will do is it will limit the amount of actual trinkets that are available. Tax the like button, think like a goblin. You're creating an artificial natural monopoly. Yes, exactly what you're doing. I feel the cards will start at around 300k within 2 to 4 days, and they'll be under 100k. Just buy all of the herbs. Yeah, getting hold of the herbs is going to be the difficult thing, I reckon. I genuinely reckon, because interestingly, if we look at the cheat sheet, our Shadowlands cheat sheet, you'll see very quickly on here. Where's the milling rates? You'll see that if you reliably want Tranquil Pigment, Tranquil Pigment being the rare herb, or the rare pigment, you pretty much have to mill Nightshade. There's virtually no other option. Yeah, you may get it when you're milling Death Blossom, but you're not milling Death Blossom for it, you're milling Death Blossom for the other 2 inks. When you mill the zone-specific herbs, yeah, you might get it, but it's less than a 1% chance that you're going to get it. Realistically, all of the Tranquil Pigment is going to come from Nightshade. So Nightshade, Nightshade, Nightshade. That is what a scribe will be buying. That is the herb that people are going to want to get their hands on all day long. What's the best class for herb and mining? Arguably a druid. Druid simply because you've got instant cast travel form, and they can gather herbs while in travel form as well. So. And then you get screwed over when a random guy sells the deck, goes below your average buy price, and then you start a war with decks and aces, implying that you have infinite gold. True, just buy them out. Wouldn't it be smart to snipe specific cards with different names so that they don't take advantage of buying all of the aces? I literally just used the ace as an example. It could be any of the 8 cards of any of the 4 decks. But if there's one, we will see quite quickly within a couple of days, if there's one deck that appears to sell better than others, you better believe you'll know about it pretty quickly. And yeah, you can kind of use some goblinry to give yourself an advantage, but it's going to be quite an expensive thing to do. There's not enough herbs to meet demand, so trinket prices will be high for the first week at least. Oh yeah, they're definitely going to be. They're definitely going to be pretty high. I can't deny that one. Will you make leveling guides for other professions like you did for Enchanting? If you mean in video form, I've got every single profession leveled up in a playlist on my YouTube. Every single you can watch me level up every single profession. Already done. One thing I will say is that some of the earlier ones may not necessarily be 100% accurate now, because beta changes. But once the game goes live, I will redo them all using live stuff. And on Excel, no, the only profession leveling I've done here is blacksmithing. And even this is probably out of date now. Realistically, doing this for all of the professions on the beta was not only difficult to achieve because I just couldn't get enough materials, but it was also kind of pointless, simply on the basis that they were changing things all the time. But now that the game goes live, I will be probably over the span of the first week and a half of Shadowlands, I will probably have leveled up every profession again, or at least that's my plan. I may not be able to do it all in one go, and I may not be able to kind of put it together as like a guide as such, but at least on the streams we'll be leveling up the professions again, so stick around. But one thing I did want to do today on the milling page is I was going to make a small little calculator, because my recommendation to people is that they use this spreadsheet to you can either just go by the data that I've provided you in here, which is as accurate as I believe it can be. This was all based on milling herbs on the beta. But what I want to put together is like a little calculator to work out, right, if I want to make 50 Darkmoon cards, what do I need to go to the auction house and buy? Or if I buy 1,000 Nightshade, how many inks is 1,000 Nightshade? That's what I kind of want to put together. So we'll build that out in a minute or two. Bought 3,000 true iron ore 2 months ago for making goblin glider kits, selling them for 15 gold each right now. Already made 50k in the last 2 hours. Yeah, people are going to be buying goblin glider kits like mad. But we can quite easily make some sort of calculator. If we say for, we might, frustratingly though, it's arguably going to be different for each thing that you mill. The fact that if you start milling the zone specific herbs, you're going to get different things. Scribes are going to want Death Blossom and Nightshade. Scribes are not really interested in the zone specific herbs because the mill rates on them are too similar to that of Death Blossom for a scribe to really care about. Plus the zone specific herbs are going to be more expensive because they're going to be more valuable to an alchemist. And the fact that you have to be in that zone to farm them up in the first place just inherently makes them more valuable. So scribes are going to want Death Blossom for milling the basic inks, to get the basic inks, and they're going to want to mill Nightshade to get the tranquil inks. That's a fact. Posted 2,600 gliders and most of them were done before I finished posting. That doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. Goblins, do you have hype? How many minutes do we need to burn out the servers tonight? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Well, in 12 hours, 45 minutes, we'll know, won't we? Right, I'm going to quickly go grab a drink. I want to stock up on some water so that we can make a little... I think it's going to be beneficial to a lot of people to do a little Darkmoon deck calculatory thing. We'll get that on the go. And I'll continue with this Q&A while we do it. So I'll be back in 2 minutes, guys.
We must not allow the cold to deter our efforts. Seek warmth among allies, champion.
Sup, boys and girls. NA bag boy 10 minutes. Get on it. Get on it. Last chance, or not necessarily the last chance, but close to. Oh dear me. Will your bladed pickaxe work? I have no idea. GG if it does though. After this launch doing so well on old world stuff, I think I'm going to plan to fill a bank with mats prior to the next expansion. It's always a wise plan. Always a wise plan. Do I need level 60 for legendary crafting? Yes. Yes. That's a huge topic of conversation right now. That I'm not sure I could have done much more to aid it myself, considering I made multiple videos on the legendaries. But yes, to craft base legendary items, you are going to need to be level 60. Simply because you need to have access to the rune carver, which means you have to have access to Torghast, which means you have to have access to the Maw, and all of those things are level 60 zones. You cannot get access to them before hitting level 60. Even if you take Threads of Fate, you are going to be level 60 before you can craft legendary items. But let's see if we can work out a little milling calculator or something. So let's do, if we make this a yellow box, how many Death Blossom do you buy? If you buy Death Blossom, let's just quite simply, so we mill Death Blossom, how many Death Blossom? What should we get? We're going to get Umbral Pigments, Luminous, and then Tranquil. I should have just copied these, shouldn't I? So if we say we mill 1,000 Death Blossom, this number is going to be this number multiplied by what? This number? This is going to be this number multiplied by this number. We probably want whole numbers. We probably want to make them whole numbers. So if you mill 1,000 Death Blossom, you're likely to get those quantities of inks. Do we... Can we do the same? We probably can do the same. I've not put much thought into this. So we may change this a little bit. Let's make these all single. Wowhead still saying eternal crystals take 3 shards to make. Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah, it's the problem. I mean, I do feel for the admins at Wowhead that they've just had no chance. They've literally had no chance, because every time they write a guide for something, literally the next day it's out of date. I mean, I've felt the exact same way for a large part. Simply the fact that if I release a video, I know full well the day after, Blizzard will have changed something, and then it just makes me look stupid when somebody comes back to it and it's wrong. It's kind of annoying, but hopefully, hopefully with the game going live in 12.5 hours, we will have it at a state to where if I make a informative video on something, that hopefully it stays true for at least 24 hours. It's a bit ridiculous. Thanks for the guides; they're really helpful. Oh, I'm glad they're helpful for you. I've done my best to try and get as much information on the professions out there as possible. It's not been made easy though. Blizzard could have made the whole process much easier. How much do you reckon Nightshade will be per herb on launch based on those numbers? Well, everything is relative. The price of the Dark Moon cards is going to be relative to the price of the Nightshade. The Nightshade is going to be relative to how easy it is to farm, how much competition there is. It's impossible to say. My estimation, I would not be surprised to see Nightshade selling for like 200 gold a herb. I would not be surprised at all. But what I will say is the first 3 days of an expansion, something very weird happens. And it's something that most people don't see it coming. Only if you've gone through an expansion launch, and you've gone through an expansion launch with a goblin mindset, will you have even seen this happen. But it happens every single expansion. It's like clockwork. The first 3 days, the price of materials start off really, really high. So say let's take this theory that Nightshade will be 450 gold. Let's assume that Nightshade is 450 gold on day 1. By day 3, I virtually guarantee you that Nightshade could be as low as 30 gold. Even if it starts at 450, by the end of day 3, Nightshade could be 30-40 gold a piece. There can be that dramatic change in the price in literally 3 days, and it's for 2 reasons. One, everybody is gathering whilst they level. It's so common for people to do it. It's so common for people to go herbalism and miner whilst they level up their character. They level up their character over a few days. When they level up that character and they gather some ore, they gather some herbs, they throw them up on the auction house and they just undercut whoever was on the auction house previously. Which basically means over the first few days there is a huge supply of materials to the auction house. So much of a supply in comparison to the demand. Because 99% of people aren't buying those materials yet. There's only a very small amount of people that are actually buying materials in the first few days. They're the goblins. They're the ones that are buying it to level up their professions and all this sort of stuff. Outside of them, there's not many people that are doing it. So after it's usually around day 3 of the expansion coming out, the prices for virtually everything have just crashed. And people are like, oh my god, what's going on? This is ridiculous. But what then happens is people start to ding max level. People start to look at their professions. They start going to the auction house to see what gear's available. And then they look on the auction house and they go, these Dark Moon trinkets are pretty expensive. How do I make these? Oh, you need inscription. Huh. Well, I've got inscription. Maybe I'll look at buying some materials and crafting some. And then when thousands of people do that all in one go, all of a sudden, all of those cheap materials end up being bought out. But people have leveled, people have stopped gathering herbs, people have stopped gathering ore, because they've now hit max level. In this case, it's going to be level 60. And so then everything completely switches. The demand for the materials goes way high, and the supply goes way low. It completely flipped like seesaws. It usually happens around day 3, day 4. So if you're ready for it and you know it's going to happen and you're prepared for it, you can get some seriously cheap materials in the first few days. It happens every expansion. This is one thing to note, is that people see these ridiculously high prices on the auction house. There's a strong difference between something being listed on the auction house and something actually selling for that price on the auction house. It's just a guessing game on when the time is right. Kinda, yeah. This is why I'm going to... I've got 2 accounts. So one account is going to sit at the auction house, and my main account is going to be leveling. While I'm leveling, I don't know, every time I ding, I'll check over on my other account, do a shopping scan, and I'm probably not buying anything. I'm literally just doing a shopping scan on all of the materials and just watching what the prices of everything is going to be, and seeing what the prices are, what is actually happening with the materials. Am I seeing, every time I do a shopping scan, am I seeing a huge influx of more and more herbs? Are the prices going down? What's happening? You're just watching. That's what I'm going to be doing at least anyway. You'll see all of this tomorrow. This is all a heads up to exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. I'll have my second account on my second screen. I'll be leveling my main character, and every time that, I don't know, every 20 minutes, half an hour, I'll jump over and I'll do a shopping scan, and we'll just watch what happens to the material prices. And obviously, if we see something being posted stupidly cheaply, I'll buy it. But for the most part, you just watch what the prices do, and over the first few days, the prices just get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And then eventually, after like day 3, day 4, probably the weekend, to be fair, Saturday will be the day where it will happen. You'll start to see the price of those materials then go back up again on Saturday. What is that shopping scan add-on? It's not an add-on. Well, it is. It's Trade Skill Master. But if you've got a group set up for, if I show you, I've got a group just professions. All of these are one of the latest videos I did on my channel. There's paste bins for all of these if you want them. But materials, for example, I've got every single. Wait for it to load. It'll take a second to load. I've got every single Shadowlands material in its own group, but I can just do a basic shopping scan on materials, and then I can quickly see exactly what everything is being sold for. So things I'm going to be keeping my eye on pretty heavily are the herb prices, the cloth prices, and the oil prices. Those I'll keep a really close eye on. Enchanting materials, this is going to be a good one to keep an eye on. Do I have a link to the Shadowlands TSM shopping groups? It was in one of my past videos. All of these links were available in my cheat sheet. Could you set up a sniper scan for set prices on the materials? You could do, and we probably will do. But until we start seeing kind of where the materials are going to balance, it's difficult to know what to set those values at. Which is why we'll spend the first day tomorrow. We probably won't buy many materials tomorrow. We probably won't level up any of our professions tomorrow because we'll be focusing on leveling. But that doesn't mean that we won't be keeping an eye on what's happening on the auction house, just so we kind of... The more knowledge we have on things, the better we know what to do. Can we learn Shadowlands professions from Orgrimmar or only from Oribos? To my knowledge, only from Oribos. So you're going to need to get to Oribos. GG boys, it's been a great ride. Fingers crossed for a fun, balanced and diverse expansion pack. Yes, indeed, Keith, I agree. I do hope it be fun. I definitely hope it be fun. Did they balance out the amount of materials required to craft leatherworking legendary base items? There's been a whole bunch of balancing passes, but if you use my cheat sheet, all of the most up-to-date information's in there. So you can see if we go leatherworking or leather items, for example, these material numbers are all as up-to-date as I believe them to be. Some people have spotted some wrong formulas and stuff in places which I've fixed. If you spot anything in this cheat sheet that seems to be out of the ordinary or you don't think is right, just tweet at me and I'll change it pretty quickly. We need 15 days at least to have the average price. Yeah, things like DB Market, for example. DB Market is a value that is based upon the last 14 days worth of prices, which does mean that using add-ons to sell things is going to be kind of weird, really weird at the start of the expansion, and not something I recommend doing. You've got to just go by what's happening on your server. It's literally the only thing you can do. I suggest manually setting the TSM minimum prices with the floors, and best case we've established in the spreadsheets. Yeah, I've not put too much time or effort into working out what the floor price is for materials, but it's something that we will probably like the cloth, for example. The shrouded cloth has a floor price of about 8 gold. So if for whatever reason you see them being listed on your auction house for less than 8 gold, you should instantly buy them. But I don't think we've got any concern about things being priced that cheaply, at least for the next few days. That way when shopping you don't have to remember them. Luckily when it comes to numbers I'm kind of quite good at, but I think the amount of, I don't know how many items are in there. I don't know how many items are in this entirely. But I can probably look at any one of these items and tell you roughly what I believe them to be priced. But that's just, you know, it's all experience. Gunshoes are going nuts. Oh, gliders are going nuts. Yeah, gliders will do. Gliders will be just like crazy price. Can you remind me of where I paste the shopping lists for materials within TSM? It's all in that video, but like quite simply you just press the import group like this button here. But what I want to finish off doing a little calculator for Dark Moon cards. So what I ultimately want, what I ultimately want is to be able to say, right, I want to craft 10 Dark Moon cards. So what is that then going to require? Materials required equals this number multiplied by 7 equals this number multiplied by 7 equals this number. So based on the material requirements for Dark Moon card, if I want to make 10 Dark Moon cards, I'm going to need 70 pigments 70 of each pigments and 10 tranquil pigments. What I then want it to do is give me an auction house shopping list. Is there any benefit to this though, because TSM will do all this for you? But what the reason we do this is because TSM will only tell you to go and buy a bunch of inks. What we really need is then... yeah. We need to know how many herbs do we need to... that's ultimately what we need to know. And that's where TSM fails us. TSM will only tell us to go and buy the inks. Roman, thanks for the sub. Welcome, welcome. I'm kind of working this out in my head as I go along to what we need to do. So what we then want it to provide us with is a shopping list of, if I need 70 Umbral inks, how many Death Blossom do I need? And how many Nightshade do I need? How do we reverse engineer this so that it just works? Because when we mill Nightshade, we're also getting a lot of pigments in the first place, but we're not getting enough. Now we only want to, if we want to mill Nightshade, so Nightshade we're going to need, this number is equal to the amount of inks that we need. Ah, Jesus, this is where my math fails me. Because for every Nightshade, we get there's a 30% chance we get a pigment. Oh, I need some mathy people in the chat. I think ore and herbs should be much more worth than cloth, even with the bonus to cloth drops. Herbs and ore will always be more expensive than cloth. I'm trying to put together just a little... if I say I want to craft 8 Dark Moon cards, because there's 8 per deck. I need 56 inks, and I need 8 Tranquil inks. Now I need to use the milling rates that I have for this to also tell me what my shopping list will be. And this shopping list, when milled, should give me the required amounts. Now I've got the mill rates for Nightshade. This is a bit more... I thought TSM had a destroy option for milling inks. It does, but that also assumes that TSM has the right numbers. Ah, Tube Frog, now we're talking. Inks divided by the percentage. So if we go equals this number divided by the percentage. So 26 Nightshade. But that's also... so if we mill 26 Nightshade, that will give us 8 Tranquil pigments, but it's also going to give us 6 Luminous and 7 Umbral pigments. Which then means that we don't actually need to mill quite as much Death Blossom. because that seems to work. These numbers are simply the quantity that I milled. No, the amount of tranquil pigment that I obtained divided by the number that I milled. So it's just a flat percentage. Oh god, this is some linear integer programming level problem. Yeah, probably. Probably. Do you think when Shadowlands arrives, the time lost Proto Drake will be easier to farm with the lack of players? Oh, hot Jesus! I mean that goddamn mount is never easy to farm. Because the problem, this is true. This works out fine. That we'd need, if we wanted 8 pigments. But then whatever that is also going to provide us with means we... brain hurts. A matrix would solve it easy, but this is a spreadsheet. My poor brain, it's too early in the morning for something like this. This is why I just focus on getting the materials as cheap as possible. Because I like, if I buy a whole bunch of Nightshade and I mill it and then I make the, like, it's a lot of the time the maths is too time to start using Python. There's just way too, like, I don't know, I don't know what to do with the extra. Oh, I don't know. You would need 2 variables and 2 equations to solve it. There's got to be a way. You need the Nightshade for Tranquils anyway. The required Nightshade gives some of the others, so you'd then have to subtract them when determining the Death Blossom. I'd use an extra cell, round it up to 27 and use it as error margin. Yeah. So I mean that works. Then we're gonna have hang on, so what we could do is let's just say humble pigment this cell is going to equal hang on, which one am I on? Humble pigment is going to equal this number multiplied by this number. So that, if we mill 26 Nightshade, we need this to format, we need this to be, how do you make it round up? Because that's rounding down. I want it to round up. You probably have to round it up to the nearest multiple of 5 as well, if that's true. You can use equal round. But does that round up? Because I'd want it to round up rather than round down. I wish I knew what I was doing with Excel sometimes. Yeah, see, that's just rounding it down. I want it to round up. Rounds up by default. If not, use round down. But that didn't round up. That round down. Can I just do round up? Hey, now we're talking. Okay, got it. So it rounds up. This should be a $sign. Where's the $sign? Oh, boys, now we're getting somewhere. So, 27 Nightshade. When we mill that, it gives us these amount of Umbreal and Luminous pigments. We can hide these values in a minute. They just need to exist. We can reference these. I can't make a copy right now. I'm getting the message some tools might be unavailable due to heavy traffic in the file. Yeah, it's probably because there's almost 100 people viewing it. There's nothing I can do about that, I don't think. That's a limitation of Google Sheets. M_round rounds one number to the nearest integer multiple of another. Okay. So you need M_round W25, so it would round up to the nearest 5. So if we do, what did we say, M_round. M_round and then W25. Ah, I see. So we do right. Then what we actually need is so if this cell was M_round, what did we say? Hang on. W20, 5, round it up to the nearest 5. No, now it's gone crazy because there's a D missing. M_round up. Is that a thing? No. Because it's just rounding it to the nearest 5. I need it to round up to the nearest 5, which is not 25. The nearest 5 up would be 30. Honestly, doing this in Python seems easier. Oh, it probably absolutely is. Just Google it, man. Basically, if the rounding is downward, just add 5. That's true, but then if it comes out 28 and it rounds it to 30 and then you add 5, that's 35, which is then wrong again. Oh, I don't know. This is all getting way too level complicated. This is overthinking the whole process straight away. This is instantly and it's also very apparent that doing this in a spreadsheet is, hence the if. Oh, well, yeah, true. I do this every day in Python. Yeah, I'm not a programming whiz by any way, shape or form. Right, well, I've decided this is too much like hard work for a spreadsheet. Simply, like, here's the data. You can do with it as you please. I think that's the limitation. Boop. instantly decided it was not worth it. Literally wasn't worth the time or the effort on that one. Can you explain what you're trying to do to people who just tuned in? I realistically have no idea what I was trying to do. Quite simply, I was trying to make it so that you could put in a number of how many Dark Moon cards you want to craft, and then the spreadsheet will tell you exactly what you need to go buy in terms of herbs from the auction house, not inks. But screw it, too much like hard work. If somebody wants to do it, they can do it themselves. Realistically, just keep this number in your head. One Dark Moon card requires three pieces of Nightshade, and I don't know. Let's how many Death Blossom are we going to need to get 14 inks? Probably what, 100 Death Blossom. We now almost know how to do it, just don't put it in the sheet, more insider knowledge. Exactly, there we go. Exactly, use that as, like, I'll give you the numbers, here's the milling data. If you know what to do with that data, then please feel free. As it stands right now, it's way too much like hard work for my brain. Simply put, buy a bunch of Death Blossom. Death Blossom is going to be cheap, and it's 3 Nightshade per Dark Moon card. 3 Nightshade plus some Death Blossom, job done. Easy game. That's what we like. Yeah, there's enough people using this sheet now where it's struggling to keep up because of limitations of Google. You can publish a sheet. I can distribute this in a different way to how I am doing it now, if this number starts getting a bit ridiculous. But yeah, I'll think about that in the future. Where can I find Gathermate data for Shadowlands so I can see the best routes for gathering? Oh, that's a good thought, actually. That's a very good thought. Yes, that's a very good thought. Maybe I should export my Gathermate data before I lose it. And if I can make it shareable somehow, then I will do. By the way, is there an automatic profession leveling add-on? Not to my knowledge. Let's turn on Gathermate. Where's Gathermate? You should export it and make a video explaining it. You're probably right. Do you have a Discord that you can post it in? I don't have a Discord, no. I'm more and more starting to believe that I probably should make a Discord though. As a lot of people or people want resources, and I need a uniform place to keep those said resources. Does Gathermate actually have any information already? No. If I export my data from beta, is that going to... Yes, make a Discord. I just... Or learn GitHub. Alright, smarty pants. Discord would be great and super easy to set one up as well. No time like the present. Oi, Manthieus, you're a legend. Just thought you should know that. Ah, thanks. Elena Marina, thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome. Where can I find your auctioning operations? One, I don't have any, and two, if I did, I wouldn't give them to you. Auctioning, that's the kind of thing that you really should work out yourself, and it should be custom to your server and your needs. Wouldn't you just have to copy GatherMate data from folders on beta? Possibly, but I will see if there's a nice export option that I can use that then you guys can have it as well. Who would it be on? It would be on this one. Hey bud, look at your views. Yeah, there's 150 people kicking about in here now. I'm almost famous. Greetings, Manthieus. Found out about your channel. It's awesome. Thanks for your work. Hey, you're very welcome, Pierre. You're very welcome. Do we know if on GatherMate there's an export option? Because I don't have a lot of nodes in this version, but at least for like you can put roots together pretty. Maybe not so much in Ardenweld, but in the other zones you can definitely put some stuff together, and especially the moor. This is a helpful one of where stuff is in the moor. Let's interface, add-ons, GatherMate. There's an import. Is there an export? There must be an export. Or am I just going to have to... if there is an export, I can't find it. Yeah, there's only an import button. Maybe I can't export it. Hang on, hang on. How or where can I get existing data? You can import data into GatherMate using these. GatherMate data. I don't want the Wowhead data mined copy of all the nodes because they're useless. I don't think I can export my data for you guys. Google it, there's definitely a way. Probably just steal the file from the WTF folder. That's kind of what I was thinking. Then I have to host a file for you guys. Let's have a look. Let me have a look. If I can get it to you guys, I will get it to you guys. World of Warcraft, beta, WTF. Let me see if I can find it. Interface, add-ons, GatherMate to data. Is it? No, that's a Lua file, and that's not going to be it, is it? Post it on GitHub, that way we see when you update it. Alright, Tim, calm down. I genuinely wouldn't even know what file I'm meant to be... hang on, okay. Okay, let's just... How to export GatherMate to data. Install GatherMate 2 data. Once in game, open GatherMate. Select the import section. Select the data you want and click it. Import. No, I want export, you stupid Google. Maybe if I wrote export, that might help. Showing results for how to import GatherMate 2 data. No! Stupid game. You can download the data already. Look for GatherMate _2 data. No need to use yours. The concern is the default GatherMate 2 data takes from Wowhead's information, and Wowhead's information is wrong. That's my point. Like the Wowhead, Wowhead still tells you, for example, if we go to, let's just go. Let's just go to a lithium ore very. Oh, what? We go to a lithium ore very quickly, and we go to. It's literally not even here to start with. Oh, do I have to be on the beta? Mined from. Yeah, here we go. A lithium deposit available in Bastion, Ardenweld. No, they're not available. No, none of these are available anywhere but the Moor anymore. This is the problem. Oh, WTF account number saved variables, GatherMate 2 data lure. Well, I found that file. Is that the one that I need to... beta WTF account. GatherMate 2 lure. Let's open that with Notepad++ and see what it shows me. Oh, hot damn. That's already too much like hard work. The problem is this contains account information and stuff as well, which people would then need to go in and change it. This is all, once again, not necessarily easy for somebody to do, especially if I don't know what I'm doing in the first place. GatherMate 2 herb database. Okay. That's every herb in the game though, that's the problem. I'll work this out. This is not helpful stream content in any way, shape or form right now. I'll try and work this out, and if I can get it to you, then I'll get it to you. But for now, I don't particularly want to just share that file. It'd be so much easier if they'd just add an export function. Yeah, you're telling me. I mean, I understand like copying and pasting a section of that one file and then giving it to you, but then I've got to try and teach people how to import that into their game. Yeah, and I'm not willing to spend time troubleshooting all of that business, to be honest. Realistically, in a couple of days, Wowhead will probably get their shit together. And will stop telling you that lithium deposits are available in Bastion when they're not. I mean, this is just categorically false. which is frustrating. If I had the time, I'd make a fork with export, but today is definitely not the day. Well, this is the thing. Trying to do all of this today is it's almost a little bit too late. We're just going to. What I may do is start working. Not necessarily today because that's ridiculous, but I may start working just quickly on my farming routes. What we will do though, while we're on this character, for the very last time on the beta, we'll do a quick profession overview. We will pick a profession and we'll spend literally 5-10 minutes at max on that profession. What is with all this crazy? True. Right, so I'm going to do 10 minutes on every profession. No more, no less, 10 minutes on every profession. So, somebody pick a profession. First person to pick a profession, we'll start with that one. I'll log on to the character that's got that profession, and then we'll do literally 10 minutes Q&A, speed run of each profession. Leatherworking. Right, let's go to the leatherworking tune. I understand leatherworking being a thing simply because I didn't do a deep dive on leatherworking because I haven't had time. So let's log on to our leatherworker. 10-minute timer for leatherworking. Ask your questions. Go. For while I don't see a question, I will just talk. I'll give you everything you need to know about leatherworking. Quite simply, actually leatherworking is really easy. You basically just craft a whole bunch of the entry-level leveling gear. It's dead simple. There are periods in the leveling process where you craft heavy desolate leather from desolate leather. This is probably going to be something you're going to be doing a lot anyway. Desolate leather is super abundant and is likely going to be way more available than some of the rarer stuff. Why would you want leatherworking? Leatherworking is one of the 4 professions that can craft the base legendary items. Bone Shatter is the male base legendary items. Umbra Hide is the leather versions of. They all require a whole bunch of materials, and you've got to be 60. Yes, you've got to be level 60 to even unlock these, but once you have them, you can start making a lot of gold. Yeah, leatherworking is basically 2 professions in one. The fact that you've got both mail and leather that you can provide armor to, which when you do the numbers, when you look at how many classes use either mail or leather, all of a sudden it's 6 classes or something like that. Very quickly you realize that you're actually providing armor to almost half the game. So leatherworking is super beneficial. What is Crafter's Mark II? Crafter's Mark II is going to allow you to add this to an item when you craft it. So say for example you want to craft some of the level 60 gear. It starts at item level 151. That's the default for it, but you can add a level increase, or you can alter. It's kind of weird that this says increase the item level. Subs all over the place. It's weird that it says increase item level because you can not only increase it, but you can also decrease it using the different Crafter's Marks. Crafter's Mark 2 is locked behind reputation and is only, you have to go to the Maw, you have to grind out reputation in the Maw before you can get access to this. So it's going to be something you're going to work towards rather than something you're going to get access to straight away. But if you put a Crafter's Mark 2 in a piece of crafted gear, it will take it from item level 151 as default and it will just bump it up to item level 168. So it's a nice 17 item level bump, but of course you've got to be able to craft the crafter's mark in the first place. How long do you think it's going to take to unlock crafter's mark 2? We're still unsure of exactly how much reputation with Venari we're going to be able to get. Mainly because the events are going to change, the dailies are going to change. You can kill a whole bunch of rares over in the Moor. The Moor is not actually as large a zone as you think. These two areas that are still covered by the fog of war, you can go into them, but they're incredibly deadly to be there like solo. Maybe as a group you'll go into these areas, and there are even like daily quests and weekly quests that will come up sending you to these sort of more dangerous areas. This is very much, at least for the start, going to be like group based content. Now of course the more that you do while in the Moor, the more reputation you'll gain with Venari, and the quicker you'll be able to buy the Crafter's Mark 2. My estimation is you're not going to be able to get hold of Crafter's Mark 2 for at least a couple of weeks. At least a couple of weeks, maybe even more. Is Leatherworking going to make money? I really do hope so. Leatherworking is going to be on my main character. You will see a lot of me crafting leatherworking items going forward, simply on the basis that it's on my main. So yeah, I really hope so. Drums are going to be a big seller for leatherworkers. If you don't have Bloodlust or Heroism in your group, then you can take a set of drums and you'll get a 15% haste boost. It's not the, what is it 20, 25 that you usually get from Bloodlust or Heroism. So it's not quite as powerful as normal, but for those groups that don't have a shaman or a mage or a hunter with the right pet or whatever the case may be, somebody with drums will be very, very useful. What's the strategy for farming the Moor? Just be out there and kill things. Realistically, everything you kill out there is going to give you either some Stygia, which you can then... Stygia is the currency for in the Moor. You can use that to buy items that will make your life in the Moor easier long term. So just being out there, killing things, killing the rares, completing the bonus objectives, that sort of thing. Two weeks to craft gear that is basics heroics that outshine. Rest in peace. Most of the time you'll find that the gear that you create with the professions is designed to be nice filler gear. For example, take the scenario that in 3 months time somebody's leveling a character, they're leveling their alt and they ding 60. The item level that they're going to have is probably going to be about 130. If they can go to the auction house and literally just buy a few pieces of item level 168 gear, even though what they get in dungeons and raids and LFR and stuff might be better, it's a way to quickly catch up. That's realistically what profession gear is for the most part nowadays. It's never going to be your best in slot, but it's a way to create that sort of catch up gear. That's the thought process behind it, at least. Drums are now half of Bloodlust, I believe. It's 15% you get from the drums. 15% haste boost. Lasts for 40 seconds. If you have skinning and enchanting, will you still need to spend gold on leatherworking? Arguably not. Well, I suppose you are to a degree, because there's lots of vendor items. The base legendary items is the arboreal shards, which are they're 125 gold each, default price, and you have to buy those from a vendor. So there is going to be some gold investment if you're crafting the base legendary items, but for the majority of the patterns, Probably not, no. You'll be relatively self-sufficient with an enchanter and a skinner. What's the best type of gear to craft for legendaries for leatherworking? Is it the shoulders? A few people have tried to work this out, but every time I've seen somebody try to work it out, they come back with different results, which basically means it's very difficult to tell. The thing you've got the advantage as a leatherworker, though, is you've got, what is it, like 16? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You've got 16 different armour slots across leatherworking and across leather and mail. So the likelihood of if you just pick one, and start leveling up that one, there's a very good chance that you're not going to get into too much competition. Trying to min-max around which ones are going to be more valuable to people is a really difficult game to play, in my opinion. 1 minute left for leatherworking. Since for crafting legendary requires soul ash, how many can we craft daily, weekly? Oh, okay. Crafting the base legendary items don't require soul ash. It's only when you go to actually create the final legendary that you need the soul ash. So as within a profession, a leatherworker, a tailor, a blacksmith, a jewel crafter, they can create as many base legendary items as they have the materials for. It's only when you craft the final legendary product that it becomes bind on pickup, and that is the point where you need the soul ash. You don't need the soul ash in creating of the base items. I'd say it's a blessing and a curse that you have to get all 16 of them to rank 4. Yeah, eventually that's going to get kind of crazy expensive. Do you recommend leatherworking and tailoring or leatherworking and skinning? Leatherworking and skinning makes considerably more sense to me if and only if you plan to go out and actually skin. If you already have a reasonable amount of gold, it makes far more sense to me to just buy the materials you need off the auction house and just make sure that you're only crafting stuff that's profitable. But boom, there we go, that was leatherworking done. We did 10 minutes on leatherworking. Pick a new profession. Enchanting. Let's log out. Let's go to our enchanter. Enchanting seems to be a big one. We'll do enchanting. Alright then. I'll do... I'll do 2 minutes of a TLDR for enchanting. Leveling enchanting initially is going to be pretty simple. You can disenchant all the way up to 25 with enchanting. So the likelihood is that any greens you pick up whilst leveling, even maybe potentially buying some green items to disenchant may not be a bad idea. Or any of your old gear that you get from, or gear that you get from quests that you don't need, that sort of stuff. All of that can be disenchanted. Your first 25 points are pretty simple because of disenchanting. Disenchanting green items is going to be your main supply of soul dust. There are three. There are three main materials to enchanting: soul dust, sacred shards, and eternal crystals. So you have your dust, your shards, your crystals. Dust is going to be pretty readily available because it comes from disenchanting greens. The sacred shards are going to be a little bit rarer, a little bit more costly. They're going to be a bit more difficult to get your hands on in the first few days of Shadowlands, simply because they're only going to come from disenchanting blue items or rare bits of gear. And then eventually you have the eternal crystals, which I'm still concerned are going to be super rare for the first week or so of Shadowlands, simply because you only get these from disenchanting epic items. And to our understanding, epic items are kind of restricted to like Mythic Zeros. There's not many sources for epic items at the beginning of the game, so these Eternal Crystals are going to be rare. They're going to sell for a pretty penny. If you want to max your Enchanting, I would go as far as to say you're likely to spend somewhere between, I want to say, 2,000 and 5,000 gold for each Eternal Crystal early on. You can get Conquest Gear too. That is true, but the likelihood being that the people that are going to get the Conquest Gear are going to get the Conquest Gear because they want better PvP gear. They're very unlikely to then use their Conquest points to buy gear simply for the purpose of disenchanting, but hey, who knows what might happen. Crystals are going to be 100k at this point, no joke. I don't think they're going to be quite that expensive, but they are going to be ridiculously expensive to begin with, simply because the scarcity of them is going to be crazy. Yeah, we worked out that you only need about 20 Eternal Crystals in total to maximise Enchanting. We leveled it again quite recently. One of my more recent videos on the channel is actually us leveling Enchanting from 1 to 115. So I suggest you watch that if you're interested about how it works. But Enchanting, yeah, Enchanting, the biggest thing Enchanting has got going for it is these three patterns here. Enchanted Aletheian Bar, Enchanted Heavy Callous Hide, and Enchanted Lightless Silk. Tailors, leatherworkers, and blacksmiths are going to need these materials in large quantities because they're used in the creation of the base legendary items. So you tend to find that an enchanter is going to have it's kind of got its fingers in all of the pies right now. The difficulty being, though, is they don't add much to the game. They're part of the game, but they don't add much to it. You may see that it only takes one single piece of soul dust on top of the regular rare material for that profession. So they don't, long term, there's not going to be a huge amount of profit in this, but in the first week when enchanters just haven't got themselves leveled up, it's going to be enchanters that get to max skill and can craft it. I suppose that should be a big thing I should point out. You can't craft these reagents until you maximise your enchanting. You've got to be 115 out of 115 before you get access to these three patterns. To get to 115, you're going to need a whole bunch of Eternal Crystals, and they're going to be rare and expensive. So enchanters that do put in the time and the effort to get to max skill to craft these initially, I would hope are sensible enough to charge a hefty profit for these, but we'll have to see how it works. In terms of the actual enchants themselves, arguably they're all pretty much the same. They're kind of what you'd expect from enchants in general. Anything that uses a crystal is going to be crazy expensive. If it doesn't use a crystal, if it only uses dust, they're likely to be really cheap. There's going to be a huge difference between the cheapest enchant and the most expensive enchant. So it's up to you how you kind of how you craft these higher end enchants and how you go about selling them. But you can see, for example, that you can go from 10 agility from a very cheap enchant. This enchant is likely to cost you like 20 gold. They're ridiculously cheap. But the top end enchant could cost you thousands of gold for only like an extra 5 agility. It's going to be a weird one. Not sure if you saw it or somebody said there's a Google sheet. Medivh's 9.0 Shadowlands Raiders Godbook. You're in the Professions tab. Yeah, I know. He DM'd me on Twitter a few days ago and asked if I minded being in it. I was like, of course not. So yeah. By the way, you can get tomes for 5 skill points that can be a huge gold saver. Very true. You can only use one of them a week though, so be careful of that. You'd wanna save the use of those until you get to the top end of the professions when it starts to get really expensive. Do you need to be maxed to craft the enchanted materials? Yes, you do. That's the big thing. That's the big sort of stumbling block, should we say, for any of the base legendary crafters out there, that there's going to need to be enchanters on their realm that have maxed out enchanting before any of these are going to be available. I plan to level up Enchanting as quick as I can, even if it costs me a lot of gold, simply because being able to craft these will dramatically it'll just make my life so much easier. My main character is going to be a jewel crafter and a leatherworker, so I'm going to need enchanted heavy callous hide like it's going out of fashion. The only way I'm going to be able to get this reliably is if I craft it myself. The only way I can craft it myself is by leveling up my enchanter to max, so we'll be doing that within the first few days as well, even if it costs me a ton of gold. Medivh is still doing those. He is, yeah, he's still doing it, and it's pretty good. If you've looked at his one for Shadowlands, it's pretty good. Would you sell crystals or enchants week 1? I would sell the crystals week 1. Enchants are not going to become super beneficial to you for selling until the raid comes out, so we've got a couple of weeks sort of leeway on that one. Selling the crystals, because enchanters are going to want to buy the crystals to level up their enchanting. People aren't realistically going to want to buy the enchants until the raid comes out. So the tomes are world drops. Yes, they are. Yeah, or the profession tomes. I think it's +5 skill points if I remember right. But if say for example you're an enchanter and a tailor, you may still find a leatherworking tome that drops for you. They're not like specific to your character. So you may be lucky and find the one that you need, or you might not be lucky. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but like profession journals or tomes or something. I can't remember exactly. But they're just random world drops. Can I post a link? Links probably won't work in here. If you want to post a link, it's worth tweeting it to me first. Why did you previously mention enchanting with skinning and not enchanting with tailoring? Honestly, I don't know. Enchanting and skinning makes more sense because any leather that you... No, it still really doesn't. I don't know is the honest answer on that one. Plus the price will drop on the crystals by raid time a little bit, so you could always sell the crystals at a higher price and then buy them later for less. That's very true. That's very true. I hate that the auction house doesn't tell you how much of something you sold. Well, TSM does. TSM tells you how much of something you've sold. I get the feeling that okay, cool. Yeah, enchanting is going to be pretty good. There's a lot of... It's going to be very expensive to level to start with, and simply because it's going to be so expensive to level to start with means that there's a lot of gold potentially to be made for those that are willing to spend that gold to level it. So I mean, in the chat, when you get your auction of X sold for X. Oh, I see. I see. Right, well, yeah, that's basically enchanting in a nutshell. Gonna split RL stuff to do in prep. Good luck with the launch, peeps. See you on the other side. Thanks, Woo. I'll see you tomorrow. Good luck with leveling. What is a good price for the crystals to reliably make your money back with the materials later? There's virtually no way to... Just sell them for as much as you can sell them for. Right, I'm going to take a bathroom break and I'm going to let you guys pick the next profession. Let's go... we're going to go between... We'll pick... We'll pick a... Here's your options, boys and girls. Here's your options. Pick your next profession. I'm going for a bathroom break, and then I'll be back in 2 minutes. Oh, it's close. Looks like we're doing alchemy. Alchemy it is. Wishing everybody a great time. Aussie fan logging off for bed. Good luck for Shadowlands. Good luck to you too. Good luck to you too. If you're still here, you're obviously getting worth from the stream. How about helping him out and helping you out? Hit the like button. Ah, you guys are doing all the shameless plugging for me nowadays. I don't even have to do it anymore. This is great. I've got a bunch of minions doing it for me. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Right. Well, alchemy 1. So let's log on to our alchemist, who is this dude. And let's talk about alchemy for 10 minutes. Simps. Still got to finish the mog farming from the Argent vendor, collect paragons before the expansion launches, finish PvP quests. Don't burn yourself out before the game even comes out, man. Jesus. Relax. It's just a game. I still can't convince my guild leader about professions, but whatever. Hey, some people just can't be don't respond well to reasoning. I've been doing skinning around Ardenweld, especially farming those kind of larvae. What's the best skinning spot in your opinion? I've not spent a huge amount of time skinning in recent times. I did a fair bit at the beginning of the beta, but then everything changed, so it's really difficult to say. Ardenweld, there's a few good spots. Right down to the south, there's a good spot. There's a little bit here. Glitterfall Basin is a good spot. Bastion, I mean, the whole bloody zone is just full of beasts, so it's like the whole zone is just a skinning spot. Yeah. As a GM, I couldn't convince guildies to dedicate themselves to professions. Yeah, some people don't want to listen, but we chose alchemy. Let's get a little timer on the go for alchemy. Right, let's do a quick alchemy TLDR. Potions and flasks are still a big thing for alchemy. Leveling it all the way up to 175 sounds daunting to begin with, but it's actually not as difficult as it sounds. It's kind of daunting, the fact that you think that you're going to have to spend twice as much doing it. But realistically, any potion and anything you craft on the way to max skill, you're likely going to be able to sell it pretty comfortably anyway. There are a couple of weird things to note with alchemy. There's no big, I wouldn't say there's not really a profitable transmute. So for any of you guys that have had literally like an army of alt alchemists just for the daily cooldown, are going to be a little bit disappointed. The fact that the only 2 daily cooldowns you have as an alchemist is one for a Shadowgast ingot. Now, Shadowgast ingot is used by blacksmiths and jewel crafters. Blacksmiths use it to craft virtually all of the endgame gear. Jewel crafters use it to craft the base legendary items. The problem is that blacksmiths can also make these Shadowgast ingots, and they can, in my opinion, craft them for less than what it's going to cost you as an alchemist to transmute to one, which is really weird. So yeah, unfortunately, that is basically dead on arrival as far as transmutes go. The only other transmute that a alchemist has access to is one for Shadestone. This you actually need to go and do some rep grinding to even get it, and even then, when you get it, the Shadestone is primarily used for making the cauldrons, which is also locked behind a rep. So it's rep requirements on top of rep requirements. The cauldrons are used for raiders to be able to provide everybody in the raid with a flask. These are usually pretty expensive. They're going to require 8 flasks and 2 Shadestones to create each one. People who know that they need these already know that they need these. That's basically what I'd say about it. Biggest question, do we still get mixology? When you go into your professions, when you first learn alchemy, you will see when you hover over the tooltip, it does say perk mixology. You receive an increased effect and duration when drinking an elixir or flask that you know how to make. So, there's a couple of things to note from there. It just says an increased effect. I believe it is double. I've not tested in great detail, but I do believe it to be double. And it does require it to be one that you know how to make. So if you want to get a benefit from, if you want to have double duration on your flasks, you are going to need to level up alchemy to the point where you can learn the flasks in the first place, which is pretty high up the tree. So you're going to have to level your alchemist if you want to take full benefit of mixology still. Is the trinket from alchemy simming good? I've not done any information on sims for anything at all, so I wouldn't know. Manthieus, did you see the dungeon guides? I have not seen the dungeon guides. Dungeons are one thing that I wanted to. I've spent basically 2 months on the beta, and in that time I think I've maybe run a dungeon 3 times. I deliberately wanted the dungeons to be a little bit of an unknown for me. I wanted to have something to look forward to once the game goes live. So I deliberately on the beta didn't play the end game in too much detail. So I didn't go through the dungeons, I didn't learn all of the bosses, I didn't learn all of the mechanics. I wanted to leave that until the game was actually live. There's also a Manthieus soulbind that makes food flasks stronger. I can't remember which one it is, but yes, there is. I can confirm. But in terms of what you actually craft as an alchemist, your potions and flasks are all pretty much what you'd expect. There is a new speed pot increases movement speed whilst dead by 100%. You'll notice I said that increases your movement speed whilst dead. This is surprisingly useful. A couple of the zones, there's only a couple of graveyards in the zones, and there are times where you'll be doing your world quests and you'll run into an elite and it'll just slap you about, and then you've got a 4-minute run back to your corpse, which is incredibly annoying. Keeping a few of these in your bags is probably going to be very wise. Yeah, the corpse ones are crazy long. There seems to literally only be like 3 graveyards in each of the zones, and if you die in the wrong spot, an easy 4-5 minute run back to your corpse is not unusual. So these are people are going to sleep on these a little bit to start with. They're going to be like useless. Can you use them if you are dead? Well, you would hope so, wouldn't you? Goblins, at the end you'll need all of the professions to make our fatty belt more and more bigger without farming at all. Farm is for... oh, Jesus. Yeah, you either like farming or you don't. I'm in the category if you don't, but I know it's some people find fun in farming. One thing you will note is there is these ground like things. You can take the regular herbs and you can grind them into ground widow bloom, for example. This, I think, is something that Blizzard came up with this fantastic idea to give alchemists something a little bit like scribes do. Scribes obviously take the herbs and they mill the herbs to get pigments, and they use those pigments to make inks. I think Blizzard had every intention of doing something similar with alchemy, and then backed out at the last minute. These ground versions of the herbs are virtually useless. Whether they do something with them in later patches, we'll have to see. But they, in essence, the reason you craft them now is because they go into the... where is it? They're used for crafting the Shadestone, which is one of your daily transmutes. But that is the only thing they're used for. Which makes them kind of feel a bit odd. It's like, why to make this Shadestone do I need to mill? I don't know, it just feels odd. Hopefully you will get like the equivalent of the Anchorweed transmute at some point, but as it stands right now, we don't really have that. So, yeah. Let the dwarves do the mining, the Tauren pick the flowers, the goblins just be the bankers. Sounds pretty sensible to me. Sounds pretty sensible. I suppose one thing to note about alchemy is there is only 2 flasks this time. Instead of there being 4 different flasks for each sort of, you have 2 different types of flasks. You have a flask of power that will boost your main stat by 70. So whether that be agility, strength, or intellect. And then there is a separate stamina flask. Obviously designed for tanks primarily. The stamina flask is considerably cheaper, like literally a third of the price. If you look at the amount of nightshade is the rare herb. You only need 1 nightshade to make one of these flasks, whereas the flask of power you need 3 nightshade. And as we've already discussed, nightshade could easily be 200-250 gold each. Yeah. There's no procs. I think that's something that should be noted. There's no like random procs. There's no Silas procs. As it stands right now at the beginning of alchemy. So, do you think 2 flasks only makes it easier or more difficult for goblins? I worry that alchemy is too easy for everybody. And when it's too easy for everybody, it means it's very difficult for goblins. I really worry about the amount of profit that you'll be able to make with alchemy. You'll sell a lot of stuff, but you won't be making much profit every time you sell it. I'm just not seeing the profit in alchemy this expansion, with no procs and people's inability to use the auction house probably. Where does the profit come from? Yeah, this is exactly my point. It's going to be a popular profession, but squeezing profit out of it could be like trying to draw blood from a stone. Yeah, that is a running trend with professions in Shadowlands, unfortunately, as you will soon all come to learn. My alchemist is still level 36. Well, luckily you'll only need to get it to 48. Once your alchemist gets to level 48, you have access to Shadowlands professions. And as it stands at the moment, if you want to start selling potions and flasks, you don't need to be any higher level than that. The only reasons you need to get endgame alchemy is if you're the dude in your guild that needs to bring the cauldrons, because these are bind on account. These are not bind on equip, these are bind on account. You cannot sell your cauldron. Your shadestone you can sell though. This may be profitable sometimes. Yeah. I assume that crafting can't proc anymore. True. Right, well that was alchemy done then. That was alchemy in a nutshell. It seems sensible to me that as we're on this character, we also talk about inscription. As the fact that they use the same materials tends to link the two together pretty well. And I think you guys... I know we've talked a little bit about inscription today already, but I sense that you guys would be quite interested in learning a little bit more about inscription. So we'll do 10 minutes on inscription. Yeah, okay, inscription. Relatively well known by most people to be one of the best potential professions going into Shadowlands for gold making. I use the word potential pretty strongly, mainly for the fact that without something like profession ranks, without expulsum, without the need to be level 60, it also means that inscription is very, very accessible to everybody. All you need is a bunch of herbs. Once you got a bunch of herbs, you're good to go. On that basis, it means that you may find very, very strong competition with inscription. There are 3 main reasons in Shadowlands that you are likely to want inscription: missives, contracts, and Dark Moon cards. We'll talk about each one in turn. Missives. Missives are a crafting reagent, an optional crafting reagent that allows you to determine the secondary stats on crafted gear. They are also required when crafting your legendary items. When you go to the rune carver and you've got your base legendary item, you also need 2 missives to be able to tell the rune carver what secondary stats you want on your legendary item. For that purpose, missives are going to be very popular, because everybody that creates their legendary is going to need at least 2 of them. Their cost is going to be it's about the same, slightly less than a Dark Moon card in terms of its value, which would mean that I would expect a single missive to sell for about 1,000 gold, roughly. I mean, these are guesstimation numbers, maybe more, maybe less. But realistically, I imagine about 1,000 gold. The problem is that missives are too expensive for crafters to use them to specify secondary stats, which means half of the potential market for these is gone instantly. So I do worry that missives may be a one-hit wonder situation. People will buy a bunch of them to craft their first legendary, and then they will never buy them again. You also, that one thing that's going to make that situation even worse is the fact that you are forced into crafting some missives whilst you level up Inscription. You make like 4 or 5 missives in leveling up Inscription, because most people will want to get to, I think it's skill 80 to where you unlock the Dark Moon cards. Which means that there's likely going to be 5.0, thanks for the sub, welcome. It's likely to mean that there'll be a flood of missives initially, and you may see some good sales on the missives, because people will buy them in preparation for their legendary. But once people have crafted their first legendary, like, there's literally no reason for anybody to buy these missives. So be really, really careful if you're picking up Inscription just for this purpose. That the market is not as big as you think the market could be. Yeah, that's quite simply it. When you were testing Dark Moon cards, was the card distribution relatively equal in the decks, i.e. 25% of each? If you craft enough, you will eventually end up with an equal number of all of them. There is no sway to one deck or one card any more than another. It's literally a 1 in 32. When you press the button, there's a 1 in 32 chance you'll get each of the cards. You can see we've crafted a whole bunch. We've made a whole bunch of decks. Yeah, with enough crafts, it'll balance out to be equal across the board. Let's talk about Dark Moon cards then in a little bit of detail. Dark Moon cards, you first have to get to skill 80 with Inscription, which is not too difficult. It's not too expensive. Yeah, you need to get to skill 80. When you craft a Dark Moon card, I've worked it out to be roughly a about 30% chance for you to also then proc a blank card at the same time. So you craft a Dark Moon card, it's going to cost you a single Tranquil ink and 14 other inks and a piece of parchment. Each time you press this craft button, you'll get a regular Dark Moon card, and probably 3 out of every 10 times you press the button, you'll also get a blank. You can take that blank and add an additional Tranquil ink to it to craft a card from that specific deck. So it's not like procking a second card, because the second card is not completely free, because you still need 1 Tranquil ink to it, but the Tranquil ink is likely to be 50, 60, 70% of the cost of making the card in the first place. Because a single Tranquil ink probably is going to require you to mill, I think it's 3, I think I worked it out to be about 3 Nightshade per Tranquil ink. So yeah, and each Nightshade could easily be a couple of 100 gold each. Do you need max level to craft missives and or Dark Moon cards? No, this is a big problem. This is a big problem. That you can just sit at level 50 and craft your Dark Moon cards and craft your missives. Yeah, that's a big problem. The fact that there's literally no barrier to entry for anything in Inscription. There is a barrier to entry for something, we'll get to it next. But for Dark Moon cards and for missives, nah. This is why Inscription is going to be on my alt. My alt, it's on my mage. My mage will be one of the first characters I level up, but realistically, there's no requirement to be 60. The only thing that requires you to be level 60 for Inscription is the contracts. Now, the contracts work in exactly the same way as they did in BFA. That you can buy a contract for a faction, and then you'll gain additional, you can see here, enter a contract with the Ascended that allows you to gain reputation with them every time you complete a world quest in Shadowlands. I've not tested what the extra reputation is in terms of a numerical value, but one thing to note is there is considerably less reasons to be exalted with the factions in the first place. rarely do you ever need to get more than revered with a faction. The actual demand for the contracts is not going to be as high as what they were in BFA, because people in BFA were zerging to get exalted for Pathfinder achievements and to unlock recipes. Realistically, there's virtually no reason for you to go much past revered with a faction unless you're after like cosmetic items or mounts, that sort of thing. So there's not that, oh my god, I have to get to exalted kind of mindset within people. They're happy to level up reputations on a way more casual basis. So you may or may not see contracts being a big thing. Two things to note: you've got to be revered with the faction in the first place before you can even get the pattern, and even then it only costs 10 inks to make one, so they're going to be really cheap. There'll be a good money maker for the first handful of people that get revered with each faction on your server, but after that they're going to be a bit meh, is my honest answer. How many days after launch do you expect the first wave of contracts to hit the auction house? I don't know. I don't really know how fast you could possibly get revered. It wouldn't surprise me if people do it within the first week. But yeah, even then, I don't think they're going to be super hot anyway. Speaking of crafting, how dead is actual crafted gear? Only goes up to 168. It's catch-up gear. Crafted gear is just catch-up gear. It's never meant to be BIS gear. It never will be BIS gear. It's literally catch-up gear. So if you ding 60, you've got 130 item level gear. You can go straight to the auction house and equip yourself in full 168 gear, and find it and have a much better time in heroic dungeons or your first raid or whatever the case may be. So it's just catch-up gear, crafted gear. Doesn't it go up to 180 item level with Crafters rank 3 after you hit revered with the Avowed? Crafters Mark 3 and 4 have been data mined, but they're not going to hit the game at live. They might come out in later patches. Crafters Mark 2 is the highest you can go currently, or at least for the foreseeable future. Crafters Mark 2 is the highest Crafters Mark. Catch-up gear, like always, is going to sell. I mean, Uncanny gear is technically catch-up gear, and Uncanny gear has been selling like crazy, even up until yesterday. Do you have any idea, or can you check the minimum item level required for queuing for heroics? Oh, that's interesting. Probably not, because my gear's too high. And I can't easily cheat the game. I can just delete. If I delete stuff, I can lower my item level. I know this isn't exactly alchemy based, but it's just crafted based in total. Now our item. Okay, you need to be item level 155 to queue for heroics. 155 for heroics. So if you ding level 60 at item level 130, you're likely to then want to pick up some crafted gear. If you just take it off, it doesn't matter, because if it's in your bags, it still counts towards whatever it is. There'll be a market for the blue crafted gear for people who want to rush the heroic queue. Very likely. Very likely. Yeah, you're going to ding 60 at about item level 130. 130, 135. So you're going to need to gain 20 more item level points from somewhere before you can start queuing for heroics. You're not even going to be able to get into the level 60 dungeons until your item level 144. So yeah, there's like the started gear. People are definitely going to want to pick it up just so that they can like queue for dungeons and whatever. What do heroics reward? Dungeons. 171. 171 appears to be heroic gear. Stephen Daly, thanks for the sub. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, and I'll give you guys what we diverted pretty heavily. 1 minute on inscription. Any more questions about inscription before we move on to another profession? Selling tons of weapons in the 2,500 to 8,500 range for the last 4 months. Right, we'll move on to another profession. Let's go with blacksmithing, I reckon. Let's do blacksmithing. Let's pick another crafting one. Biggest money maker in inscription in the short term and long term perspective. Short term Dark Moon cards, long term not a lot. Long term you'll just fall back onto things like glyphs from past expansion. Tomes will sell just consistently throughout the entire expansion. Dark Moon cards, obviously Dark Moon card. Everybody knows Dark Moon cards just go mental at the beginning of an expansion. But yeah, I mean, just look at the list of things you craft. I mean, all of this is just mass milling. So you literally have, that's literally your list of inscription, and 3 of those are inks. You have missives, tomes, and Dark Moon cards, and a couple of staves. Even in my unlearned tab, the only thing that's there is the contract. So short term inscription is all about the Dark Moon cards. Long term, it's going to struggle. Yeah, interestingly, if you've got like max level cloaks or like mythic raid gear on right now, you'll probably ding 60 wearing most of that same gear. I saw on Wowhead, probably you did as well, that the Venari rep will be locked for the first reset, which makes Crafter's Mark 2 even longer to acquire. That's only something that you concern yourself with if you're in the EU, and it's literally like it's locked until Wednesday, not a week on Wednesday. People have taken that to mean that Venari rep and Torghast Ash and everything is it's Wednesday. It's not a week on Wednesday. I mean, it's literally 24 hours only if you play in the EU that even matters. The very first Torghast quest gives a 171 cloak. That's true, actually, yeah. You're likely to replace your cloak as soon as you ding 60 if you haven't already. Can you farm every Shadowlands herb in Bastion alone? No. Each of the herbs that you need, you've got Rising Glory. Which are the other ones? I can't remember. Each zone has their own specific herb, and then in every zone you can pick up Nightshade, which is the rare one, and Death Blossom, which is the basic one. Let's log on to our blacksmith. We'll do blacksmithing and tailoring kind of in one, because they're much of a muchness as they're crafting professions, and we've also already kind of covered leatherworking. So alright then, so blacksmithing. Blacksmithing's looking pretty good, you know, actually. I'm quite excited to level up blacksmithing. I think it's going to be quite a good one, and not only do I think it will be good at the start of the expansion, I think it will have some life to it as well. It follows a similar pattern as all crafting professions always have done. Blacksmiths, you make the weapons. The interesting thing with these weapons, though, is that they can only take a Crafter's Mark 1. They can't take the Crafter's Mark 2, even if you unlock it. So the weapons that you make as a blacksmith are basically going to cap out at level 55 and item level 117. They are literally only ever going to be leveling weapons. They won't even be useful to you once you get to endgame. You'll very quickly replace your weapon once you ding 60. It'll be one of the... If you've not been fortunate with a quest reward, it's one of the first things that you'll probably actively seek out to change. Whether it be from a dungeon or something else, I don't know. Yeah, as a blacksmith, you only make leveling weapons, literally leveling weapons, maximum level 55. You make 2 sets of leveling gear. The ceremonious gear is really cheap to make, only requires Leystrike ore. Leystrike ore is the basic ore that can be found in all of the zones, going to be readily available. And you use anywhere between 4 and like 12, I think it is, to make the leveling gear. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Seralthi, thank you for the sub. Welcome, welcome. These actually, the long term, we may find it's probably not going to be the case, but ceremonious arm guards needing only 4 pieces of Leystrike ore does create a like a 6 gold. Like a 6 gold floor price for Leystrike ore. In fact, it's not even 6 gold, is it? Because you've got to take it's a 5 gold. It's a 5 gold floor price on Leystrike, which is a long-term thing. Leystrike ore should never ever go less than 5 gold a piece, because at that point you could just craft braces and vendor it for more. But that's a real long thing. And then the second set of gear that you make is the Shadow Steel gear. This is your level 60 plate set. Starts to use these Shadowgast ingots that we'll talk about in a minute. But it also uses Elithium ore. Elithium ore is the rare ore in Shadowlands that can only be readily found in the Moor. It used to be available everywhere, and then they moved it to the Moor. Because of course they want it to, they want people to go and spend time in the Moor, because it's meant to be the level 60 endgame zone. Whether people like it or not, that's the case. Time for some shuffle scans? Yeah, probably. Quite possibly. Yeah, shadows. You get to make a whole set of gear. This by default is item level 151. You can specify, you can use the missives from Inscription to specify which secondary stats are going to be, that are going to appear on these. But with the potential price of the missives, it's very, very unlikely you're going to do it. Because this is arguably, this one piece of gear, I'd say 7 Shadowgast ingots. That's roughly 700 gold. Plus an Elithium ore 800-900, maybe it's 1,000 gold to craft one of these. You add 2 missives onto it, and all of a sudden it costs you 3,000 gold to make it. You're just not going to do it. You're just not going to use missives on the crafted gear, unfortunately. Not unless these missives end up being 100 gold each, which they really shouldn't ever get to that point. Not at least until Dark Moon cards have already died. Like at the beginning of Shadowlands, you are not going to use missives on your gear. You can use 3 different crafter's marks on this gear. Weirdly, you can put a crafter's mark, a novice crafter's mark on it, which will drop the item level requirement to only 50, and also its item level to 87. This is once again one of those weird situations. It's not going to be really beneficial for anybody to be doing this right now. It's more to provide a gear for people that freshly hit level 50 and want to just, get some better gear before they move into Shadowlands. It's an odd situation. Crafter's Mark 2 though, you're going to have to spend time in the Maw. You're going to have to get Reputation with Venari to get your Crafter's Mark 2, and that will then boost it to item level 168, which is definitely going to be a thing you're going to want to do if you're a blacksmith long term. Do you think ingots and enchanted ingots will be a good money making strategy? I have leveled up my mining, blacksmithing and enchanting profs. Shadowgast ingots are potentially going to be something that you're going to sell on the auction house instead of using them for your own crafted gear. You'll see the blacksmiths are the primary makers of the Shadowgast ingots. It takes 20 gold of vendor materials. This luminous flux is 5 gold a piece, so 20 gold of vendor materials. So that's 10 gold because you make 2 of them. That's 10 gold of vendor materials for each Shadowgast ingot. Then you need 4 pieces of ore, and it's a specific 4 pieces of ore. You need 1 piece of ore from each of the zones of Shadowlands. There is a strong possibility that these ores are going to vary in price pretty wildly. My guesstimation is the zone specific ore is probably going to be about 50 gold a piece for a good period of time. So you're looking at 200 gold to make 2 Shadowgast, 220 gold to make 2 Shadowgast ingots, or simple numbers, about 100 gold per Shadowgast ingot crafting cost. I would imagine. Like I said, these are guesstimate numbers. I can't say for definite exactly what they'll be, but it's an educated guess. Just crafting these and selling them is maybe not a bad idea, because Drawn Crafters also need these. Drawn Crafters are going to want to buy a bunch of these if they can get their hands on them. If I go double gathering when leveling, do you suggest to save the ore for my blacksmith or just sell the ore in the first week? I'm not sure if there's a price drop of mats after the first week. If you want quick and easy gold, sell the materials. If you want to risk crafting stuff with blacksmithing and making possibly even more gold, then use it for your blacksmith. For the first week of Shadowlands, what 2 gathering professions do you think will be the best? Herbalism and mining. Herb mining. Easy question. Next. Herbing and mining as a combo will make more than skinning by itself. But if you only have one, skinning will be the best of the 3 individually. But the fact that you can have herbalism and mining on the same character, that as a combination will make you way more gold than just skinning alone. Blacksmiths do also make the where are they gone? Ah, here we go. The Shadowgast gear. This is the plate-based legendary items. You'll see they use a load of Shadowgast ingots. Having a whole bunch of Shadowgast ingots available to you is going to be very, very beneficial. Blacksmithing is a good pairing for a miner, simply because you're just going to need crazy amounts of these zone-specific ores. And unless you've got a lot of gold to spend on the profession, having an alternative way to go and get those ore when you need them is kind of helpful. You also need a lot of enchanted lithium bars, so if you are a blacksmith and you plan to do your own mining for materials, you're going to spend a lot of time in the Maw as well. So herbalism and mining, and not herbalism and skinning, question mark. Yeah, I go, this is a common question, and I sense you're not asking it for yourself, but for the community as a whole. Herb and mining together is super optimal, because if you're running around collecting something, you might as well collect everything. If you're skinning, you tend to stay in one spot, or it's more optimal to stay just in one spot if there's enough things for you to kill. So if you're just skinning, you tend to just skin. You're not travelling around picking up herbs at the same time as much. So herbalism and mining is usually a better combo. Can a level 50 learn the rank 1 Lego recipes? For some reason my brain forgot how to read then. No, you need to be level 60 to learn the base legendary items. You acquire the base legendary items by speaking to the rune carver, who is in Torghast, which is in the Moor, which is a level 60 zone. So you do need to be level 60 to start crafting base legendary items. This is my first expansion launch with gold making in mind. How do you determine a material's worth? How do you determine a material is worth buying on the auction house, or do you just buy to level and recover the gold later? If whatever price you buy your materials for off the auction house, as long as what you craft with those materials you sell for more than it cost you to buy the materials, you win. That's the game that you play with crafting. So there's not an exact number. It's just quite simple. You just have to make more by selling the crafted item than it cost you to buy the materials. Which 2 professions are you going to end up with on your main, and why? The answer to this is not as interesting as you may think. Jewel crafting and leatherworking are the 2 professions that are going to be on my main, and for no reason other than my main is a hunter, and my hunter has had those 2 professions for probably about 10 years now. So there's no way that I'm dropping them for anything else. Even if my main had engineering and archaeology, I wouldn't be dropping them, simply because they've just been on that character for so long. I've got so many past expansion patterns that I don't want to lose by switching profession. But I am planning on leveling up 4 characters pretty quickly, which will give me a whole broad spectrum of professions to play with. Can a fresh level 50 learn the Dark Moon card recipe? Yes, they can. Can you skin callous hide if you don't have 150 points in skinning? For the most part, yeah. I started getting heavy callous hide dropping for me, I think when I was about skill 130, something like that. But realistically, leveling up skinning takes about an hour. Super quick. Can desolate leather and callous hide be farmed at the same spot? I've not done enough skinning recently, because they did do a whole bunch of they changed a whole bunch of they changed the drop rates for skinning like massively, and I've not had time to go back and test them in so much detail. So unfortunately I can't really say for definite, but what I did notice is that you either get leather in one spot, or you get the bones. You either get one or the other. Rarely do you get a lot of leather and a lot of bones. I'm on the same boat. I've had tailoring for 15 years, just can't drop it on my main because I have the rare recipes. Yeah, exactly. I'm in that exactly that situation. I've got a bunch of recipes that I'm just not willing to lose just to swap out my professions. So is Bag Boss up again? Has it really been that long? We better get to Bag Boss. Let's finish off this then. For the only other thing you should really note about blacksmiths are that they now have weight stones and sharpening stones back. These are going to be super cheap, super easy to make, but anybody that's doing Mythic Plus or raiding, or even PvP, to be fair, are likely to want to have these equipped. Quite simply, just increases your attack power for, what is it, an hour? Yeah, just a nice little attack power buff. So people will want these. But that was basically blacksmithing. Let's jump over to live quickly. Let's kill Bag Boss. Let's kill Bag Boss. I didn't realise that had come around quite so quickly. Off topic, how are you feeling today? I'm just hyped, man. Just hyped. I'm weirdly, I'm not streaming the launch. I'm keeping to my regular streaming schedule for you guys. Because I don't particularly want to, because the game doesn't go live for me until 1 AM, which personally I'm entirely happy with playing at that time, but it will completely break my schedule. And I've spent 2 months live streaming at the exact same time every day, providing a schedule for myself and a schedule for you guys to know when I'm going to be live. I'm not willing to break that just for the launch of the expansion. So I may not even play the game at 1 o'clock in, when is it, like 10 hours the game goes live? I may not play at the beginning. Will I be staying up? Yeah, this is what I don't know. I may not even stay up for it. I might just go to bed, get a solid night's sleep and get up early. We may start the stream slightly earlier tomorrow because of this. But I probably won't play at the actual launch. A 24-hour stream, I don't have. I haven't got anywhere near the stamina to do a 24-hour stream. I've been talking for like 3.5 hours and I can already feel my voice going. I literally physically have no idea how these people do 12-hour, 24-hour streams. I can't do it. Genuinely just can't do it. How much will I be left behind if I don't play until Saturday? Not a lot. Not a lot, I don't think. It's realistically going to be the weekend where it's all going to pop off. Start streaming at 6 AM so I can have a reminder to get up for coffee. I don't even think I've seen a 6 AM. The only time I ever see 6 AM is if I haven't gone to bed yet. There's no way I would ever be up that early. My concern is if I stay up to play the game when it goes live in 10 hours, 10.5 hours, I might just sit in a queue for 4 hours. So, yeah, probably not gonna. Probably not gonna. My ritual is to level all night long and then order pizza when I'm done. I saw that you were a bit upset about the price for the total cost of a rank 4. Any news about this? I wasn't personally upset. If anything, it plays the way that the system is now, where you have to craft 15 rank 1s, 15 rank 2s and 15 rank 3s. That plays perfectly into my hands as a goblin. As somebody that spends a lot of time with professions and plans to make a lot of gold with the base legendary items, that's absolutely fine to me. My concern was it more for the fact that the average player base is just screwed. Like the average player has got no chance of crafting their own legendary, because they're going to have to craft 14 pieces of gear only to then try and have to sell those. And most people don't want to be crafting 14 items of gear that they're not going to use just to get the one piece of gear they are going to use. Unfortunately, it still seems to be the case, and it's probably going to go live in that fashion. But I'm well happy about it. It just means I'll make more gold, because the barrier to entry for the first few weeks is considerably steeper for the average player. But in this scenario, I'm not the average player. I'm the exception to the rule in this one. So I was kind of more disappointed for the general player base as a whole than I was myself. I had some people in the forum I'm a member of asking about crafting Legos and showed them the video. Crying emoji followed for the rest of the page. yeah, probably. I I wasn't annoyed for myself. I was annoyed for the economy and annoyed for the player base as a whole. It's not a good system for the game the way that it is. I'm the exception to the rule though, and it plays perfectly into my hands. Because it's not, what is it, 1428, like it's, what was it, like 42 items or something ridiculous. Well, you have to craft 45 base legendary items before you unlock a rank 4. For most people, that's just not good. That's quite simply just not good. Yes, you can potentially sell them, but that is assuming that there's not ridiculous competition on them. And, spoiler alert, there will be crazy competition on them. So, the average player has got no chance of crafting their own legendary in this expansion. None whatsoever. It's expensive, but I like the idea. There's actually leveling, progression, and reward for your investment in professions. In my opinion, it's disguised as progression. It's not actually progression. All it is buying more materials off the auction house. There's not actually any progression in there. Instead of crafting 15 of the same item, what if the price of the items was 15 times higher, but you only had to craft one of them? Would you then call that progression? It's not. But that's in essence what it could be. If there was a bind on pickup material, if there was a material that dropped from a dungeon, if there was a material that came from your callings, if you had to have a certain level of renown, I can list countless different ways where there could actually be true progression, but it's not. It's disguised as progression. It's not actually. It's literally just a golem sink. Yeah. Right, come on, bag. Gotta get you. This is arguably the last chance I'm gonna have for this bag. Wow, he melted. Nope, no bag. No bag. No bag. Isn't it so that mostly rank 1s and rank 4s will sell? Long term, yeah. Long term, yeah. Having to craft so many rank 2s and rank 3s is going to be an odd one. Blizzard want you to craft a rank 1, then upgrade it to rank 2, then upgrade it to rank 3, and then upgrade it to rank 4. But the truth of the matter is, you can just go from rank 1 all the way to rank 4 if you wish. You can skip rank 2 and rank 3, and there's an incentive for you to skip rank 2 and rank 3, in that you then don't need to buy a rank 2 and a rank 3. So it's kind of weird that Blizzard want you to upgrade from one rank to another, to another, to another, but then they make it so that it's actually more optimal to not upgrade and to just go straight to the top end. It's really odd the way that they've put it together. But you've probably heard me use this phrase a whole bunch when it comes to Blizzard's choices with Shadowlands. That it's difficult to work. It's difficult to work out exactly why they've done stuff, and stuff just feels odd. That's about as descriptive as I can be about it. about to reach through the screen and strangle a dude. He didn't like cancel scanning, so he lowered margins to 100 gold. Oh, and then he put you on ignore. Oh dear. Oh dear. But he farmed the mats so they're free, yeah? Yeah, exactly, yeah, probably. Ah, this is all to come. This is all to come. The chaos of the auction house, it's all to come. I can't wait. I'm psyched. I'm very hyped for this now. But guys and girls, I'm going to leave it there for today's stream. That is the last stream of BFA. I know we didn't really do anything in BFA. We spent half the day in the beta. But that is it. I will be back tomorrow, exactly the same time. The stream may start a little bit earlier tomorrow. But tomorrow we will be in Shadowlands. Tomorrow we will be leveling our hunter. Tomorrow we will be maybe buying some materials to level up professions, but probably not buying materials, probably just watching. We'll see what happens. But yeah, tomorrow we'll be in Shadowlands. So big shout out to all of you guys that turned up today. Appreciate your support once again. Oh, now you all pop off. No, tailoring. Okay, tailoring TLDR. You get to make bags. Bags are still more expensive than deep sea bags, so it doesn't matter. You get to create leveling gear that's the same as leatherworking and exactly the same as plate, which we've talked about already. You then have the base legendary items, which you're lucky because they're the cheapest. You also have the cape. The cape can then be used by a hell of a lot of classes and is looking pretty good. So craft the cape to rank 4 first and you're almost going to win. Yeah, there we go. Got to be level 60 for the base legendary items. Done. Try to upload the GatherMate data if you can. See you tomorrow. Yes, I'll look into that, see if there's something I can do. I obviously would like to try and find a way to upload it so that you guys can use it as well. But if not, hey ho, just go do some farming, it'll be fine. Yeah, that's it guys and girls. That was BFA done. That was Shadowlands beta testing done. We are now, next time I see you, we will be in Shadowlands. Enjoy. Peace.